The new Z420 and the Omega are unique products as they were developed through a collaborative effort. The process included college coaches, collegiate sailors, and high-performance dinghy racers, as well as sailing industry professionals. The result of our integrated process is a best-in-class dinghy that meets the demands of program directors, coaches, and sailors alike. The most important features include a fully enclosed foredeck, a foam insert molded keelson, an integrated bow bumper, a cord and infused hull and deck, an ergonomically designed centerboard trunk cap, keelson, and side tanks. Game.
Glad to provide it.
Coming up in this first race back, we got blue and orange. We have the Tufts in Jumbos in blue, Old Dominion in orange. Oh, no, I had that flip-flop, excuse me. Old Dominion's in the blue, Tufts is in the orange.
I just was down on the dock with the Tufts coach, And I know that they were looking forward to coming back from a loss in the last race, and the Sailors were super positive and ready to get back out there and dial it in. So look forward to seeing
Tufts,
how they do.
obviously a great team out here. They were the first team to beat Yale, which Old Dominion was able to do later on. So Old Dominion's white hot right now coming into this race against Tufts, the two teams that have defeated Yale squaring off. Also, to add a little bit more spice onto this race, tied currently both sitting at 4-2. And it's going to come down to the point where every race matters in this opening round robin, because as we're going to find, teams head-to-head, the first tiebreaker, if two teams have the same record, is who won the head-to-head matchup. So these are two teams that have been sailing well and consistently so far today, so we might need to see this race. This race is going to count later on. Hey John, are you all mic'd up with us yet? So coming upwind here, again, Old Dominion in blue, Tufts in the orange. Tufts seems to be in control right now, Old Dominion seems to be in control right now. Have at least two pairs, but the current here, Eleanor, is ripping earlier today. What are we seeing so far? It's gonna get lighter, but what's gonna happen with the current, you think?
Oh man, I did not check the tides this morning, but what I was hearing on the dock is a lot of the teams from up north, especially those that don't get to sail in current, were really finding it to be a challenge. They were over early. There was a lot of frustration with the weather, especially coming back from women's with a lot of breeze, to have a fair weather day like this where you're not seeing all the big breeze but having a strong current. There is definitely some talk on the dock about how to best handle the conditions.
Yeah, and ODU right now seems to be taking down one of those teams from the Northeast, as they are skating right now. It looks like into a 1-2, a solid lead out from boat number 5 for the Old Dominion Monarchs. So boat 4 coming in a little bit overstood on that lane line, but I think ODU's going to run Mark 1 here in a 1-2, seeing some ragging on that jib for boat 4, trying to get boat 5, their teammates, squirted out there to lure it to make this mark rounding a lot more smooth.
And there they go.
Might not have done enough. No, they do, and they boat 5, boat flop. And 12 is going to try to, boat 11 is going to try to hang on there with a deep boat for Tufts, boat number 12. A 1-2-5 for the Monarchs, looking very solid right now around Mark 2, as they approach Mark 2, excuse me. So ODU, not a whole lot of action going on right there on that top beat, on that top leg. Things have started to normalize a little bit with the current. Earlier we saw that super short downwind leg, which they have since elongated to adjust for the current. A little bit more wind velocity as well, certainly making this downwind a little more normal and not too Charleston-y, I would say. I know, Eleanor, so you're from here. What are some of the, days like today? This is pretty textbook. I mean, I sailed here for 4 years, but you've lived here your entire life. What are days like today normally going to bring?
Oh, I'd say, like the teams that are going to win, the teams that are going to come out on top, they're going to be constantly aware of the current. They're going to be playing the puffs, especially here in the Cooper River. We're seeing breeze on and off. It's fluctuating a lot. So what's going to put these guys on top is being aware on the water, not just of the competitors, but of the breeze. It can make or break your race today.
I've seen probably 4 or 5 races so far today go completely pear-shaped from a team that was leading at Mark 3. Something crazy happened just because they're just not used. It's every single maneuver that you've trained all season. It just, not throw it out the window, but it's a whole new element that people don't even think about with this current. And it's just, it's a different game. It's just like learning how to drive a car with, your steering, like the gas and brake pedals flip-flopped or something like that. Or some analogy of that nature.
Charleston is definitely a unique place to sail, and I was hearing some of the teams on the dock who had been down here earlier in the year to practice saying that it was making all the difference in the world in their game. They felt so much more confident getting on the water just because we have such a strange current and wind situation.
Yeah, so Old Dominion was cruising with the 1-2, but boat 11 for Tufts It's very light, very sloppy right there at Mark 3. Boat 11's working its way inside right now. Might have a piece of Boat 5 to make some room, get a bump going, get their teammates in boats 12 and 10 back up in this action right now. And they're certainly doing a great job, as the leading boat right now for Old Dominion has already rounded the mark. So they're just going to park and wait to see what develops behind them. But it does indeed look like definitely one, possibly two Tufts boats are going to be able to get to the inside. And it just looks absolutely parked right now. Boat 5 and Boat 6 and 11 just going dead slow. But it doesn't look like Boat 10 is going to get to the inside of Boat 5, which is some sigh of relief for the Monarchs.
What I love seeing here is their focus. What my high school coach used to say is you can't wish your way around a mark. So you see the skippers and crews, they're really, they're focusing. They're not giving up even though
Might
it
have
is
been
a
some
floater.
contact there as Boat 11's doing a penalty turn. I don't know if they might have hit the mark or the Monarch boat to leeward, but they did only do one 360, so that might have been an admission of guilt. Didn't want to have to risk and get the umpires involved, because in these currenting conditions, the 720 is absolutely devastating. So Old Dominion is indeed back in a 1-2 at the moment. And barring substantial changes on this final beat, I think that this result might hold on the rest of the race. We have got a doozy cooking up down here. Just heard the starting horns going off. We got Yale versus Boston College. Yale's going to be in the red boats. Boston College is going to be in the blue. We're going to ride out this ODU race till the action really starts cooking at the finish line, or the start line, excuse me, for Yale BC.
And Boston College, it looks like right now they're currently first in the rankings, and Yale's in a tie with College of Charleston for third. So this is going to be a big determiner in what the leaderboard looks like in a few minutes here.
Yeah, so these opening round robins row is pretty interesting, because there's teams that we're seeing towards the bottom of the page that are still looking for their first wins, just based off how the schedule spans out. So it's not until about now you really start to pay attention to how the results actually look. You got to look at who's raced who thus far, who's been racing, who haven't they raced. So sometimes results can be a little bit on the deceiving side. Like a team that might be, a good team might be 1 and 3, but they raced all the good boats, all the good teams earlier. We're going to flop it down. We're hearing 20-second horns down at the starting line right now between the red and the blue boats. In the red, we have Yale. In blue, we have Boston College. Again, Boston College currently sitting pretty at the top with a 6-1 record. Yale sitting right behind them at 5-2. NISA rivals, no love lost, teams perennially in the Final Four at the national championship, or any regatta for that matter. Two well-coached, very disciplined teams. So I think this is going to be a fantastic race.
We've got some great sailors to watch out for in this race. Erica Reineke's on the water. She's definitely been one to look out for this year. As well as Ian Barrows. He is in his 4th year at Yale. He's back for this event, and his coach earlier was telling me that he's really looking forward to his performance today.
Yeah, Ian Barrows, part of that Barrows family pipeline. His older brother, Thomas, sailed in the Olympics recently in Rio, skippering the 49er boat, and also had a very strong career. So no surprise ever to see a Barrows at the top of any leaderboard. But it does look like right now that Yale is in control over Boston College, as all the boats are on port tack, making their way to that top right-hand corner, kind of get out of that slop at the bottom left corner that we were seeing earlier. And Yale does indeed seem to be in control of at least 2 pairs at the moment. So every boat on port again. It's a bit of a drag race. We're starting to see one Boston College boat. That's the leader of the race. I don't even know if they're going to be crossing this farthest left Yale boat, the second boat on our screen right now. That's going to be a tough cross for them. If they do, they still are in this race. But if they don't, Yale's going to be solidly in a 1-something combination. It looks like they don't cross. So Yale's already looking back, immediate awareness that they no longer were in that play. We were saying earlier, Eleanor, just how important it is in team racing. Just recognize, know what play you're in. Always being aware, executing what you're supposed to be executing.
That's definitely true. Team racing is all about awareness on the course. It's not necessarily about going fast, but it's about knowing where your competitors are and communicating with your teammates. That's number one. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys to show off their teamwork this weekend.
So we're seeing some dancing right now at the weather marks. Again, Boston College in the blue boats, Yale in red. Yale right now sitting with a 1-4-5 combo around Mark 1. It's always interesting to see the different team strategies. It looks like Boston College is going to try to chase down the boat in first for Yale. Sometimes you see the two boats start to hammer on behind them, but obviously today's adverse conditions, they might have been changing their strategy a little bit. And here we go. We see both boats start to go very, very high on that red boat. That boat number 3, it looks like. Excuse me, boat number 1.
And Yale's just running away with that first place. They're taking it and moving on.
Well, I think that's the smart play right there. I mean, if they do anything foolish and lose the one, all of a sudden there's two boats right behind them that can make that pass back happen, and all of a sudden you're chasing.
Yeah.
So boat number 1 right now is doing the right thing by staying away, but staying close just in case things do a little bit go awry. So that's why I'm seeing a nice job of pressure by boat number 17 for Boston College. Really kind of just keep tapping on, compressing the gas pedal, trying to keep them in check in boat 3. As the current starts to subside slightly, I think we're going to see a little more of a premium in boat handling. Obviously, both of these teams are very, very disciplined and well-skilled in these boats, so no surprise, but one bad tack or one bad jibe could be costly. Again, the boat out front, boat number 3 for the Yale Bulldogs, still staying away. I'm surprised the farthest right boat on our screen right now, boat number 1 and boat number 16, that's just on our screen right now. That's the guy. I feel like boat number 1 should be the boat that's doing a little bit more work right now, trying to put that gap in. He is indeed ahead of boat 16, but I feel like he might need to do a little bit more right now, especially with the two threatening boats for Boston College right there on the inside. You can kind of see them on the right-hand side of your screen. So what's going to have to happen here for boat number 3 for Yale, going to have to try to break that overlap and reestablish it to force the two BC boats to round the mark, make them sail their proper course, and they can do that by breaking the overlap and then reestablishing. So that's why I think we're going to see a lot of jibe, just throwing the boom over back and forth real quick, making sure that it fills. And it looks like boat number 18 might have just done a little bit of penalty turn. Then I did hear a whistle, but it probably was a green flag. I'm not seeing any red flags at the moment.
Yeah, boat 17 hailed the umpire and he put up a green flag, so I think that we're in the clear.
Free of guilt, and it looks like Yale might be in an opportunity right now to make this play 2 play 4 turn into a play 1. But if this Boston College boat in the middle of that sandwich right there is able to hold on and make this difficult, their teammate right now on the far left and going up high might be in a position as they approach Mark 4 to maybe even get some overlap on the inside and call for mark room. Lots of flags, but they're all green so far, so it's probably talking overlaps and violation of proper course. Big boat handling right there from boat number 3. Very confident in just his big rudder turns, keeping his boat speed up. See another protest tail from boat number 2, hailing for umpire about proper course, no doubt. Seeing another protest tail, I think it looks like from Erica Reinke in boat 17. As boat 17 and 18 are just taking boat number 2 to town right now, but boat number 2 is doing a great job of just receiving it. It's important to note right now that looks like the boat number 1 for Yale did indeed lose their ace. So what play is Yale in right now? They still have the 1. It looks like they have a 3, but BC seems pretty, they're spinning. Boat number 17 spinning for Boston College. Not what you want to see right there. So back in that 1-3 with a vote behind him for Yale.
And Brooks, you've had quite a team race career. What are these sailors feeling right now? They've got to be pretty rattled with the race this tight.
I mean, absolutely. The tensions are always high, especially at nationals. But you got to keep a level head. You can't let emotion take over. It's just one thing emotional, that could just ruin it. And so the motions are definitely going to be high, and you're just focusing on the play. Another Boston College boat spins right now. It sounded like that might have been umpire induced because we did hear a whistle right beforehand. So that's going to be 2 penalty turns, and that's going to be enough to get 2 Boston College, at least 1 Boston College boat behind, possibly 2, if that boat farthest right on our screen right now.
Well, it looks like BC's had a really bad time with getting flagged. I don't know what the last flag was, but something with the second place boat for BC fouled and had to do it. So the race is over with that.
So it looks like Yale is actually going to convert this 1-4 into it might be a 1-2. Not quite sure how they finished there from this angle, but definitely a winning combination for Yale in red over Boston College, now tying everybody up at 6-2.
Yeah, Yale was really able to make a great move at that Mark III down there. Leeward Mark. Ian Barrows was able to break an overlap at the last second. BC protested them on it, but that was green flagged, and from the rest of the race on, Yale was pretty under control there.
Yeah, John, we did hear a lot of a lot of flags and we did hear a lot of whistles, but no flags. Was it just hails for proper course?
Yeah, there was a flag there. You might not have seen it, but the line Leeward situation, I'm not really sure, but that race for him. So you guys must have missed that one red flag up there.
Yeah, we did see that one last spin for Boston College. You can't. Not too surprising to see the team that does the most circles losing a race. That certainly condenses things. So right now, after that race, we have the Hoyas sitting at first at 6-1. Yale, Boston College both sitting at 6-2. The Cougars at 5-2. Stanford at 5-2. Navy at 5-2. Old Dominion at 5-2. So it's very tight racing, very close right now at the Nationals, presented by Laser Performance.
And next up, we're going to see College of Charleston versus Stanford University.
Yeah.
They're currently 5-2, and College of Charleston is footing quite a roster. This will be a really tight race, and I look forward to watching them battle it out.
Yeah, no, we were just going down the scores right there, and Charleston and Stanford, we just said they're tied, and here they are racing conveniently enough for us right here in Flight 10, race 60. So certainly, as we just saw, that BC Yale race might come back to haunt somebody in a head-to-head, especially if both of those teams make their way to the Final Four. They're going to race each other 3 times, and then if it comes down to a tiebreaker, it's going to be who owns the series, who's the most wins, which will be right now Yale head-to-head. But I'm excited for the Stanford-Charleston race. That's John. Looks like they might be doing some light race course management right now, moving some marks as the current continues to lighten up. We just received word that we're going to have a slack tide at 4:30. So still going to be going out. We might still be racing by then, who knows? As we said at the beginning of the broadcast, the intention is to get to race 96 today, and we're currently sitting at race 60. So I think we're pretty much on pace for that at the moment. How many more flights is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more flights. Buckle up.
And PRO, Ryan Davidson, he had a heck of a weekend running the women's championship, and he's done a really fantastic job of keeping everybody happy and making sure all the races are fair. So shout out to Ryan for that. He's really doing a fantastic job as a PRO.
I mean, it's pretty important that I think it's recognized that Ryan is a recent college sailing alum graduating last year, and I think it speaks volumes for his race management ability. He PRO'd the Match Race Nationals when he was here, when he was still in school, and the CFC and College Sailing trusted him enough to run the PRO for the entirety of Nationals, women's, team racing, and the co-ed semifinals and championship we're going to see later on this week. So I think that's 11 straight days for Ryan having the PRO. And tip of the cap to you right now, Ryan. I see you yapping away on your radio, making this line all square, making this course as good as it can be. So again, you're crushing it, Ryan, and it's been Nothing but fair racing.
Yeah, and if you're a subscriber to Sailing World, look out in our next edition. Ryan has a nice spread. There's a great photo of him and alumni Chase Shaw sailing from earlier this year, and the spotlight definitely deserves to be on them.
Yeah,
So
I want copies of these photos. I need more posters for my wall. I need more heroes.
oh, make sure a copy comes your way. We've got a great edition coming out next month that covers a lot of college sailing and gets pretty in-depth.
Yeah, Eleanor, talk about Sailing World a little bit more you got going on right now, because you just recently started there and we got a little break in the action before they start to get these races going soon. What's going on? What's cooking over at Open Sailing World?
Oh man, so some of that is exclusive. I can't tell you all my secrets, but right now we've got a team down in Bermuda. Our editor Dave Reed is down there and he's doing a fantastic job keeping an eye on Oracle Team Racing. We're hoping for another win this year. And it seems like, they've had some really tough conditions in Bermuda as well as we had at Women's Nationals, so they postponed until today. But if you follow us on Instagram, we've got some great content up that covers our time in Bermuda, and we're mixing in a little bit of college nationals there too.
Speaking of, I totally forgot the America's Cup was going on today. Let's see if we can check in on the scores at the moment. You don't know how many races they've done. Let's see. Results, America's Cup. There we go. Whoop.
And I just got a quick weather update. Our winds are out of the south-southwest, about 9 to 10 knots, and we're looking at 12-knot gusts. So hoping to see a little bit more breeze fill in, and that should definitely make things really nice out there for College of Charleston and Stanford going into this next race.
Yeah, we've been talking about that sea breeze all day yesterday. It started filling, and we might start seeing a little bit of it right now looking up the harbor. It seemed a little bit darker water, some puffs rolling down. You think is this about the time of day that the sea breeze, if it does want to come in, it'll be in soon?
Oh yeah, definitely. Hopefully we'll be seeing sea breeze within the next 30 minutes. We're starting to get into that summer weather pattern in Charleston where we get the breeze really turn on in the afternoon. You'll find that if you sail summer regattas in Charleston, our local regattas always end up getting cut a little bit short because it does get so breezy here in the afternoon. So it would be really ideal if we had the breeze pick up right here before.
I know the competitors, just to keep them hungry. Team racing's always a little bit more insane in the breeze, and from a visual standpoint, that's definitely what we want. So checking back in at the start, we do have Stanford and Charleston starting very soon. Stanford in the orange, Charleston in the green. Hey, John, can you hear me real quick? Are you there? So nice shot right there from our cameraman, Colton. John's right there. See if we can get him up and running shortly. Talk about what we see coming down the line right now. Again, Charles. Oh. This is moving. Yeah. Excuse us. I jumped the gun in the rotation. This is orange and black. I thought I saw the other two boats queuing up. Oregon State in the black, Navy in the yellow.
So in the Navy boat, we've got Peter Hogan. He's another local Charleston sailor. We grew up racing Optis together out of the Carolina Yacht Club and traveled. He is a rising senior at the Naval Academy, and he's definitely tuned into this current. I really look forward to seeing Peter perform on the water today. He definitely will have an advantage because he's a local.
Yeah, just every little bit of local knowledge counts. The Navy is certainly one of the teams to watch coming into this regatta. And again, we did that score rundown earlier. Everything's close to the top right now. And a lot of teams with 6 wins or 2 losses.
looks like Hogan's skippering boat 4, so keep an eye out for him. He's a real talented sailor from Navy.
We're hearing horns again now for this upcoming race, that Charleston-Stanford race that we were teasing earlier. We just jumped the gun a little bit too much. My bad, ladies and gentlemen at home. I'm sorry, but I'm excited for this.
Okay.
Race. Every race
Okay,
I'm
so
excited.
full hiking
Every
conditions
Charleston race
out
is
here,
exciting for me.
and it looks like, I'm sorry, who's these teams? Oregon State, maybe? It looks like Oregon State might be back into this race.
That's the 2-minute horn for that race. And Charleston's once again, they've got a really impressive roster. Jack Cusick, who's a senior, he just graduated from College of Charleston, and his crew, Chloe Dapp, Stefano Pisciera with Grace McCartney crewing for him, and Christoph Killen with Elizabeth Pemberton. So we've got the best of the best on the water today for the Cougars.
So Navy seems to be running away with it upwind at Weathermark against Oregon State. So we're going to see if we can get back down here soon to Stanford and Charleston. Again, Stanford in the orange, Charleston in the green.
Okay, I was not correct there.
So we're starting to see them right there on the right-hand side of the screen, the green and orange boats, doing a little bit of pre-dancing right now before the start. They got about 1:30 left, and I think as the currents died down, we're starting to see more teams starting to engage more on the pre-start. In this current, a lot of people were a little timid, didn't really know, didn't want to get stuck in the right position or a wrong position and be stuck outside the line. The starting line is a little bit shorter as well to accommodate for that lighter current. But coming into the start right now, again, Charleston in green, Stanford in orange. Charleston right now doing a great job at the pin, forcing boat 14 to miss their ley line. Of course, boat number 8 right there will also miss their ley line, but they will be in a position to pin 14 outside, and they do. So Charleston with a nice start here against the Cardinal. Charleston very commanding off the line right now, owning all 3 pairs at least. No one seeming to want to go right. Left. Everybody wants to go right at the moment. But I anticipate if either boat 13 or 14 tacks here soon, I think we're going to see at least one of the Charleston boats, likely boat 8, tack over to cover. Because in this weird conditions, especially with more of the pressure coming out of the left-hand side all day, I don't think we're going to want to see anybody go too unprotected. I know what race, that was Tufts Stanford earlier, I believe, where the Stanford team actually sprung free on the downwind and was able to catch back up and ultimately win the race. Now, colorblind Brooke strikes again, folks. Orange is Stanford and Charleston is green. I was completely all over the place. I am very sorry. So everything I just said, but switched Stanford out for Charleston.
And it does look like that breeze is starting to pick up out there.
It's
I'm looking forward to racing getting a little bit more aggressive as the current slacks off and the breeze
Charleston
picks
versus
up.
Stanford here,
It's,
and Charleston's
it's turning out to
got
be a really beautiful Charleston
pretty good
day.
control here of, I
Textbook
think,
Charleston,
2 pairs.
Eleanor, that's why we
It's a
come
tight
here.
race right here, and maybe Stanford
We
has
weren't
control of
we weren't
two
the
pairs.
3-time #1 city in the world for nothing. Our sailing definitely fits into that
Yeah,
with a day like
absolutely.
this. That's for
I mean,
sure.
the Yorktown where we are is just packed with tourists right now. Again, take a second to shout out to the Yorktown staff for making all this possible. You guys are freaking rock stars for letting us set up shop here for the next 11 days. So thank you for that. As they get close to Mark 1, though, it does look like Stanford still might have the upper hand coming into the mark, doing a great job. Just a lot of the times you hear some teams, let me start over there. A lot of the times the teams like to just, fleet race to Mark 1 and see what happens from there. It's easy to get caught doing too much too soon in a team race. And I think both of these teams like to practice that philosophy, as most of what we've seen so far on this upwind has just been straight line boat speeding.
And Charleston's got the 2-3 right now. Let's see if their final boat can't move up a position, get in that nice stable combination.
Yeah, 2-3-5 is a winning combination, but very unstable. I would not want to. You never want to. If you find yourself in a 2-3-5, other than the finish line, like if everyone's just like shooting the line, you're already doing it wrong. There's really no stable way to hold on to a 2-3-5.
So here we go. We've got Charleston in the 2-3-4. Let's see if they can maintain that.
Hey, John, what happened at that mark round right there? Looked pretty civil to me.
Ah, man, I thought I saw a collision between first and second on a port starboard, and the judges out of position might just ignored it.
Ooh. That's spicy. That's a spicy little nugget right there, John. So Charleston doing a nice job of spreading out. They've somehow converted this into a 2-3-4, very evenly spread and balanced right now. As you can, we were talking about balance earlier. And Charleston doing a nice job of keeping all the pairs even, not one pair getting ahead of the other. Play 2 is the bread and butter for a lot of teams. It's very stable and it's the most fluid if executed correctly. Very strong and impossible to break up if you do it right.
And Charleston is really doing a dynamite job of holding their own today. They look really good out on the water.
Yeah, I think after getting spanked by Boston College with a 1-2-3, I think that kind of woke them up a little bit, and they've been on fire since, and are showing it right now against the Cardinal.
And it looks like Charleston just moved into 1-2-3.
Yeah, wow.
What a move.
You're absolutely right. I was looking at the back of the fleet trying to see what would happen with some of these overlaps, but you're absolutely right. Charleston has now made their way around into a 1-2-3 around Mark 3 as they head to Mark 4. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but some trickery from the Cougars, and they're skating away from this one now.
To have two teams that were tied come in, and then to have College of Charleston just come out and pull a 1-2-3 like that is really, really incredible. They're playing their cards right, and their aggressiveness paid off for them right now against Stanford.
Yeah, I think as this breeze is starting to pick up, I think Charleston's starting to feel a little more comfortable in these home conditions that they, it's a narrative I'm going to hammer all weekend. Just hometown team in these funky conditions, they know what to expect.
Yeah, Stanford just really made a bonehead move there. They totally had control of at least a second on that rounding, and at the last second, somehow they fell asleep and let Charleston get that last overlap about 2.5 boat lengths from the mark.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's a game of inches, and you're absolutely right, John. One mistake, it's just, and that's enough. That's the opportunity. The Cougars quite literally jumped on that opportunity and capitalized on it.
What impresses me most about the team racers too is that everyone here on the water has such great sportsmanship in addition to that. So we've got these super tight races, we've got aggressive moves, and all the while, everyone's friends on the dock. The camaraderie is just amazing in college sailing to me. So
that's something we were talking about yesterday, Eleanor. I mean, you see these are competitors that see each other every single weekend for 4 years, mostly 4 years. So I think it's important that no one really ticks anybody off.
For those who are on the outside looking in, it looks like it's really aggressive and they're at each other's throats, but these guys are all best pals when you get on the dock, and that's something that's really, really special and unique to our
sport. You
got
to think a lot of them grew up sailing together and racing together, and so they're still buds.
Wow, what a win for College of Charleston just then.
Big confidence booster for the Cougars. They're breaking that tie with Stanford, moving them into that tie, that mix at the top with right now Yale, BC, Navy, and Cougars. Charleston all sitting pretty at 6-2. This is when those tiebreakers we were talking about are going to start to come into effect. So coming up when we still got, excuse me, right here at the start, we got orange and blue, Tufts in orange, Georgetown, excuse me, wow, I'm all over the place. Tufts in blue, Georgetown in the orange. Again, Georgetown, your regatta leaders at the moment, sitting at 6-1. And Tufts, this is not so much panic mode, but this is a must win for the, not a must win, but this is a big race for Tufts. A win here would put them at 5-3 and make them a little more comfortable with some breathing room behind them as they as this round robin starts to wind down. We're about halfway through it right now. And a win here for Georgetown would be also big. And nice shot of the Hoyas working
took
hard
that
upwind
start
right there,
easily.
hiking hard. The breeze is certainly up, and these crews are certainly going to be doing a lot more in the boat. Wow, and in this slack tide, boat 11 right here at the bottom of our screen right now ran aground. We just saw the crew, you see their centerboard up right now. It's very, very shallow right here. And I guess the Yorktown's sitting on the ground right now, and clearly that 420 is, so that's not ideal for the Hoyas. You don't want a boat parked.
Yeah, the Yorktown has been
Brooks,
stuck in the Pluff
a lot
mud
of people
since,
don't realize that
since they
ship
put
you're
it here.
sitting
So
on is sitting on the bottom in about 4 feet of water at low tide.
Yeah, John, we were talking earlier, we were talking to Coach Cromwell about how deep it is right around here. He said anywhere between, 2 feet to 8 feet, and certainly on the shallower side right now. We saw it right there with that boat number 11, playing catch up hard right now. So making their way upwind. A lot of the boats flopping over right now onto that starboard tack. Georgetown in orange does seem to be in control right now over the jumbos, but they do have that boat playing catch up right now after they ran aground. Certainly one of the more unique things we've seen so far this week. You gotta love it when the oddities like that happen during a race.
really is a unique spot to sail, that's for sure.
Yeah, so Georgetown handily in a 1-2 right now, but a stampede of jumbos right behind them, nipping at their heels. Having that deep six it's very uneasy right now in the Hoya mindset right now. I think that this race is far from over. As these jumbos we've seen earlier clawed back, they knocked the win off at Yale, doing the same exact way, just clawing back, chipping away at it, and putting themselves in a position to get the win. And I think this team might be feisty right now and feeling it.
Yeah, Georgetown pretty much has this under control, and I just think they're just going to try to gap out as far as they can here.
But John, how are the three Tufts boats not as close as they appear to be? You're right there on the water. It seems to be like they're within striking distance at least, right, from our vantage point.
Yeah, I can't see them getting back into striking distance here by the time they get downwind. It's just quite breezy here.
Gotcha. Yeah, and when the current, now that this current's less current, not currenting as hard, that crazy Mark III that we saw a lot of today might not be into account. But hold on, John, boat 6 for Tufts rocketing on the inside, kind of doing that thing we saw in that Stanford race earlier, unprotected, get a nice vein of pressure and rockets themselves into the front of the fleet. I say that boat for Tufts is absolutely in front of boat for Georgetown right now.
Yes, I'm closer to it than you.
That's for sure. Georgetown is
figured it
now
out
in the
before me.
1-3,
Six
still
got
a winning
right back into the
combination, but
race about
Tufts
4
is giving them
seconds
a run
after
for
you
their
said that.
money.
And now the question is, how can boat 6 execute? Do they know what they need to do? They're going to set up inside right now. They're in a very powerful position. But we're going to see boat 12 for Georgetown start to hit the brakes, try to get that pick and pin on boat 6. Both boats jibe, all three boats jibe. We're seeing a big luff right now from boat 6 on boat 10, trying to mix it up, getting his teammates back in the mix, and they are on the inside. Boat 5 and boat 4 are now immediately back in this race. Tufts trying to convert this chasing 3-4-5 into a 2-3-4. Been saying it all day, John. We're going to see it all week. You got to cover your guys. Not having that gap behind them. That Georgetown boat that was in last wasn't able to pick off a boat and defend. And now we're seeing trouble right now for Georgetown as the Jumbos are fighting back into this one with aggressiveness.
Yeah, Brooks, if you can explain to me why those first two place boats just didn't sail as fast as they could. Why did they slow the race down? I'm kind of confused.
Well, I wouldn't say they were slowing the race down, John. They were obviously going as fast as they could, but you know, it's not a fleet race. You got to cover your bases. One boat always goes high, one boat always goes low, and the boat that went high just got caught in a lull. And while the other Tufts boat defending that boat, trying to force him high so he wouldn't steal his win, allowed that third Tufts boat that wasn't being covered because there was a Georgetown boat in last, allowed him to spring free in a nice vein of pressure and get all the way down to the finish line, or down to the mark unprotected.
Yeah,
And it looks like there's now a red flag on boat number 11. Again, that's the boat that ran aground, so adding insult to injury for a pretty frustrating race right now for the Hoyas. Yeah, John, why did 11 have to do that penalty circle right there?
I did not hear the question. I apologize.
11 had to do that penalty circle. What was the incident?
I'm sorry, I did not see the penalty.
So Tufts in control of this one with the two Georgetown boats. Maybe boat 10 coming upwind right now on starboard. Might be their last hope to try to get a piece of someone, one of those two Tufts boats to weather, but I don't know what their gap is right now, so it might be asking too much. Yeah, boat 10 tacks with boat 4 and boat 5 both crossing handedly. So Tufts is either going to get a 1-1-2 or a 2-3-4 here. Let's look for boat 12 to do something dramatic here.
The next race is the red and blue boats. There's 1 minute to go.
Yeah, so boat 6 gets the 1, and we're seeing boat 12 for Georgetown start to dial down, try to get something going. But I think Tufts got that with a 1-3. So Tufts will get the win there against the Georgetown Hoyas with a 1-3-5. Nice job for the Jumbos right there to knock off the regatta leaders. And all that does is make things tighter with everybody now. The top 5 boats now sitting at 6 and 2. Teams, excuse me. Checking back in down at the starting line, we got a great one coming up here in the red and blue boats. We got Hobart in red and Wisco in blue.
Here's the start.
5 seconds to go. 17 Wisco boat over for Wisconsin. Clears themselves quickly right now. Boat 2, interesting decision to jump. They might have hit the pin right there, or it must have been flagged. That's 2 penalty turns right there for boat number 2. So Wisco in blue, a little bit uneasy right now for the Statesman off the line here. As a couple Wisco boats are able to spring free. That early penalty turn on boat number 2 makes things a little shaky on this first beat.
Well, Brooks, I think we
boats
might
gonna
have
start getting
Wisco's
careful. We need to be
first
careful how it's supposed to get to
opportunity to
Yorktown,
win a
as we saw.
race here.
John, were you able to see what that penalty turn was for boat 2 off the line?
Yeah, it was a windward leeward at the starting line, and he crossed the line, got his penalty turn in, and pretty deep.
Yeah, Wisco did look to be in controlling position early when everyone was jetting off onto the right-hand side, but these 2 boats for the Hobart's just simply using their boat speed to get back into this one, and the boat farthest left on our screen is probably in first right now. In the other boat for Hobart, second on starboard from the right on our screen is probably in a 1-2 combination at this point.
I think Wisconsin just has speed
Looks like
problems.
Cruiser hiking hard down there, John.
I hate to call college sailors pinchers over here, but I think they're pinching and just struggling. They should definitely be ahead here in at least one of these pairings.
I don't know where the charger is.
Yeah, Hobart's going to skate around Mark 1 here with a 1-2.
I have them. I didn't realize you needed the chargers. I thought you needed the chargers.
We're seeing right now Hobart with a 1-2-6 in the race right before this. Georgetown lost it against Tufts. They're in the exact same combination, and Tufts was able to grind one of them in, get a nice little vein of pressure, and get them to the front of the fleet. I don't know if Wisco has the same wheels as Tufts did downwind, and Hobart might have learned from that mistake last time watching that race. John, are any of these Wisco boats looking like they're in position to threaten those in the front of the fleet, or is Hobart doing a good job of controlling this right now?
Again, the leaders decided to reach for about 30 seconds, so they lost distance there. But I don't think it's going to, same thing's not going to happen this time. But I'm still confused why these guys reach so much.
Do you want to just say thanks?
Eleanor Walters, thank you for joining us. She's got to peace out, got some Sailing World exclusive work to do. So thanks for joining us, Eleanor.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Brooks.
Bye. So Hobart is indeed in control
Great shot.
here. That downwind's even longer now, as maybe they're starting to see some,
Hobart
with this velocity
did a
increase.
better job than Stanford and a few other teams of just going too fast as they can and not reaching out of the puff. That's Yep, and Wisconsin did a better job there staying in the pressure. They did reach for a while after the first mark, and I still don't understand. I'm confused how people can lose 10 boat length leads. I'm still not getting it, but Wisconsin did, Hobart did a great job here of just getting to the mark.
Yeah, John, Hobart lost that race earlier to I think it was Tufts. They were in control, and then that was the first race that Tufts scrapped back. So I think Hobart's learning from their mistakes about how to not lose leads.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm starting to notice teams, especially starting much better than they were earlier. But definitely some teams starting to get a little sharper. And man, pretty impressed with Tufts there. I mean, that team's had some hot and cold moments, but they end up pretty hot most of the time.
You're absolutely right there, John. You were commenting on the starting earlier. When we first got here, current started ripping, and it was not only the start of the regatta, the current was ripping, so teams were a little bit timid, I think. But now that they're more comfortable in these conditions in the boats, the jitters are gone, and the racing is becoming a little more normal, I would say. I'm using air quotes, which you can't see at the moment. Normal in a sense that it's not current ripping either way. This is relatively slack tide right now as far as speed of current. It's there, it's just not ripping. And starting to normalize out and get everybody a little more comfortable with what they're used to.
Wait, Adam's right now. Okay. We're trying to get something done.
So it looks like Hobart does indeed have this one in the bag against the Badgers, but as we're seeing right now in our shot, this black and yellow race, MIT in yellow, Old Dominion in black, two teams that are, I kind of had penciled down as those fringe teams that might be on the outside looking in as come down to the wire here, just as the final scores like final out the top 8 and the bottom 8. ODU sitting right now at 5-2 and MIT at 4-4. So MIT's a big win. A win here would absolutely help the Badgers. Engineers, excuse me. There's a lot of small woodland fauna animals, little woodland critters. We got badgers, beavers, and engineers. Again, MIT in yellow and ODU in the black. MIT seems to be in control right now with the 1-2, but a couple unprotected and spread out Monarchs might be threatening farther down this run, particularly the boat on the farthest left downwind on that port wing right there in the center of your screen. One puff that he might be getting that I'm seeing coming down the race right now, course right now, might be enough to get him in front of at least a piece of one of those boats.
You know, Hawaii. There's 67. You know, Hawaii.
So it doesn't, MIT might be lucking out here and just running out of time for ODU to make a pass on this downwind. So MIT is gonna round definitely here in a 1-2-6. Maybe a piece of that last boat with a 1-2-5, but I think right now the 1-2-6, we've seen that broken up all weekend so far. MIT just running away with this one right now. ODU hoping for a miracle or some shift or something lucky to happen, but again, not having a gap, not having a boat on their team. MIT not being able to have a boat to gap always leaves it's a little bit more of a question mark than you'd hope for. MIT continues to extend their lead, it looks like, squashing the hopes of the Monarchs of coming back into this one. So a win here would put MIT at 5-4, Tufts at also 5-3, ODU at 5-3. Ooh, man, it's tight up here. For perspective, first place currently has 2 losses, and 11th place has 4. But I think a big surprise so far today has been the looking at the scores. The Eckerd Tritons, they've beat a lot of teams that might not have thought they'd beat. They beat ODU, they beat Tufts, so they're hanging in right now, sitting at 5-4, right in the mix of things.
I think, Brooks, that's just incredible to have only 4 losses on the 11th place team. That is exactly what we were hoping for this weekend.
Absolutely, John. I think that's just a testament to the Nationals. I mean, every team here is good and deserves to be here. You might have just seen that dolphin right there in that shot. There are dolphins, or I think porpoises rather, in Charleston Harbor. They come and go, make their way up the river, and it was fun when we were out here practicing to see some dolphins jumping around. Manatees too. We see some manatees from time to time. They smell really bad though. I think we've seen a turtle. So MIT gets a big win there over the Monarchs. A little bit of a break in the action behind us. I think the race committee was holding off, trying to make some course adjustments. And it does look like we're going to get cooking again soon. As coming into the third mark right now, Boston College, Oregon State, BC in green, Oregon State in orange. Oregon State's been in orange the entire time. Far race right now. Yeah. We're hearing some starting runs right now. 20 seconds right now. We're going to pan back over to the start. We got Yale, race 67, Yale versus the Hawaii Rainbows. Yale in red, Hawaii in yellow. Yale with a commanding lead. Great start for the Bulldogs. Looking for a little bit of a... We haven't seen them since BC. They took the last flight off, so this is their first race back since that loss against BC. So maybe they might take some little bit of frustration out on these on the Rainbows. So we're seeing the 2 Yale boats crossing boat 16 right there on the screen. And, ooh, looks like boat 2's doing a penalty turn. It was a close cross, but I think this is one of those things where, you know, they weren't sure. They just, boat number 2 right there just ripped off, did that spin real quick just to remove any doubt. Didn't want to risk anything. Anything could have gone crazy. An umpire could have made that decision right there. And even if they thought they might have been right, they're just playing the safe game, which I think that's the correct move. Well, that's a well-coached move. And you can also argue that, you know, a race like this, Yale is seemingly comfortable in control, might just put themselves in this situation just to, you know, you don't want to say practice it, but you got to see everything out here in the national championship. Yep. Yeah, Yale with a commanding lead over the Bows right now. Yale skating around that mark right there with a 1-2. They do have that deep 6 from that boat number 2 that did that penalty turn to just a precautionary 360. But I would expect them to be back up in the mix very shortly, and Yale is going to continue to run away with this one. Up next, we got Navy and Stanford about to start at the starting line. Navy's going to be in the blue boats, race 68. Navy in the blue, Stanford in the orange. So as Yale continues to run away with this, let's see if we can't pan over to the starting line real quick. Blue and orange, race 68, Navy in blue, Stanford in the orange. So we're seeing them just off the starting line right now. Pretty split, even start, I would say. So right now, Navy sitting at 6-2, Stanford at 5-3. Stanford beats Navy here. It's just going to consolidate the rankings even more. But a win here for the midshipmen would be big for the confidence.
Yeah, it's kind of tough for Stanford. You know, they sail in the Pacific Conference, and they won all 3 qualifiers, the women's, the team racing, and co-eds, and so maybe not the resiliency that they've needed to really come here and come out of the blocks really quickly.
Yeah, John, it looks like the velocity has definitely increased, especially in these Z420s that are powered up. We're seeing crews hiking. What are the conditions like out there on the water?
Yeah, it's just so funky to me how light it is at this end of the course down here. And then you get halfway up the course and it's just this wind line that just doesn't seem to move down all the way down.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of been hovering there all day, not quite wanting to make its way down.
I'm just starting to figure out, I just think the Yorktown has such a huge impact on the breeze down here. A big picket fence effect, the rebound off of it, I think is just causing the wind to kind of do a little jump off the water once it gets halfway, 3/4 down on the way down the course.
You're seeing a little bit of luffing right now from Navy in the blue. A little bit of balance, looks like boat 4 ragging their jib on boat 10, trying to get their 2 teammates in 5 and 6 around. Looks like it might not have been enough for both of them as boat 5 gets around, but boat 6 still on starboard. We're going to see a bit of a domino effect. 1 boat goes, 2 boat goes, 3 and 4. So a 1-2, a spin now for boat number 4 for Navy. So a 1-5-6 for the midshipman around Mark 1. John, did it look like he just hit the mark, or just was that a precautionary spin?
Yeah, Brooks, if you could give us a explanation at some point of what's that rule? Are you allowed to tack onto port at the windward mark as you're rounding it? Because I think that's what happened. The guy tacked, and the starboard tacker got him by just inches.
I'm sorry, John. I couldn't quite hear what you said there.
He asked you to explain.
Yeah, I'm just still confused how you're supposed to make that move around the mark if you're on starboard and you have a boat behind you and then you tack onto port. I mean, I just don't know how you pull that off. Even if they're straight behind you, you foul them.
I mean, that's all about spacing. That's a very tactical move for the boat to put themselves just right. I mean, they're not overlap. You're just preventing them from tacking. It's all about setting yourself up right at that first weather mark.
Yeah, so Navy made the mistake.
I mean, I'm not surprised to see that move from either of these 2 teams. I mean, that's a savant team racer move right there. So Stanford rounded that mark in looked like a 2-3-4, but it looks like they might have extended this pair outright closest to us on our screen right now. That's a very unbalanced pair, as that pair is now very far ahead from the rest of the race. I think Navy's I think, poor job of balancing by Stanford. I think Navy's in a position to come back in this one strong as they're leading both the pairs that we have coming back downwind. We see boat 4 start to luff and consolidate things. We're seeing boat 10 do the same. I think Mark 3 is about to be a doozy here.
This is where Stanford has struggled in a couple of races down here at the bottom. Let's hope that they can pull this off a little better this time.
Yeah, we're seeing boat 10 for Stanford luff right there, waiting to spring the trap, if you will. See these two boats on the outside, Navy and Stanford boat right now, trying to get around to the outside. So coming into Mark 4, Stanford looks like they might be in a more controlling position right now. If that second boat for them is able to get a piece of overlap, they are on the outside, so a 2-3-6. It looks like boat 11 actually navigated themselves into a nice position right there. So Stanford in a much more comfortable position over the midshipman right now, doing a great job of covering all the boats they need to be covering. Boat 6 being covered by boat 10, and 11 covering boat 5. Yeah, for Navy to get back into this one, they might need something, a bit of a miracle here. Boat 6 might have to get a lucky flyer, but boat 12 for Stanford doing a great job of just keeping their finger on the pulse, keeping them in check. This is Stanford just coming away from this one right now. So with this win right here, Stanford would move up to 6-3. Navy would drop to 6-3. If you guys are following on TechScore, these, if you're not, do so. But they are it's quite close at the top, to the surprise of nobody. Yeah, the breeze is up and the crews are all on the rails. I think this is going to be some champagne sailing conditions for the rest of the afternoon. The target race for the day for the race committee is race number 96, and that Navy Stanford race was race 68. So we still got about 28 races to go. And we'll be with you for every single one of them.
This is Hobart and race 70. Hobart versus Northwestern.
Down here at the start right now, race 70, Hobart Northwestern. Hobart Statesman in the red and Northwestern Wildcats in the blue. Hobart desperately needing a win right here. Every win's going to count at this point for the rest of every race always counts, but just a win here would, just give a little bit more breathing room. They struggled off the starting blocks going 1-3, but have seemed to found their groove, currently sitting at 5-3, winning 4 straight. And especially at a regatta like this, it's all about getting hot at the momentum and carrying that into the next round, being that team that nobody wants to race. Again, you're tuning live to the live stream powered by US Sailing. And US Sailing wants you to know that you should keep your US Sailing membership up to date. If you join or renew today, you receive an exclusive US College Sailing Nationals t-shirt for free. The logo is pretty cool. It's really cool this year, actually. Shout out to Colin for designing that. But US Sailing has always embraced the team race culture that has produced some of the best team racers in the world. Here at the United States, especially, and it's all fostered here in the college sailing environment. You look at all the racers that have won world championships for the United States, and they're all names you will also see on the podium of the Walters or on the Walter C. Wood Trophy itself. Some of the best team racers in the world come right here and are developed in the college sailing system. Hobart looking very strong against Northwestern right now as they round Mark 1, and I think we'll continue to run away with this one.
Colton, I think you just need to get further away from the Yorktown. John went to court.
Yeah, this is as slack as we've seen the current so far today. We're seeing a rule of thumb we were using earlier yesterday was look at the anchored boats and the committee boat right now just pointing directly into that breeze. So I think that's to me that signifies that this is slack tide right now, or slack-ish, I should say, not full slack. Down here at the start in the yellow and black boats, we got the Georgetown Hoyas in yellow, Galveston Aggies in the black. Georgetown fresh off that heartbreaking loss to Tufts, I think might see what Yale they might replicate Yale's performance against the Rainbows and take out a little bit of frustration here on the Aggies. And Georgetown being a little more cautious. I believe boat 7 was the same boat that got stuck in the mud earlier against Tufts. So being extra careful to not get too close to the Yorktown. Excuse me, boat 5, not 7. And Georgetown just using their boat speed to sail away with this one. Georgetown continuing to put a bit of a beat down here on the Aggies. I think they're just going to sail away 1, 2, 3, and they're already looking forward to their next race, which won't be for a while as they have a bye the next flight. Ooh, but then they face Yale in their next race, race 80. That'll be a good one. We'll get that one to you guys for sure. Adding a little bit of insult to injury there for boat number 5 for the Hoyas. Clamping down all 3 Aggies at that mark 2, forcing one of them to spin. It looks like they might have hit the mark as well. However, I mean, that is the smart technique. Just, you know, that is what you're supposed to do in that situation. As the Hoyas will cruise downwind. Yeah, this sea breeze seems to be here to stay, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're going to have some awesome, consistent breeze for the rest of the afternoon. So we got some great races in the docket lined up coming into this next flight. Going up and right there, the green and orange boats. We got Tufts Jumbos in the orange, the Wisco Badgers in the green. So after, we might throw it over to that race here in a second. And the following race, race 73, is going to be the Oregon State Beavers versus the MIT Engineers, a little battle of the Beavers. Whose teeth are sharper? So looking upwind, Hobart did just get the win over Northwestern, and Georgetown continues their commanding lead over the Galveston Aggies.
Not a lot of exciting racing, huh, Brooks?
No, just a little bit of a couple blowouts back to back. And coming upwind to you, we do have the Hoyas and the Badgers, the Jumbos and the Badgers. The Jumbos are going to be in orange, the Badgers are going to be in green. And looking upwind right now, it looks like the Jumbos are very much in control of this race.
Yeah, just another one of those races that seems to be over. The last 3 have been the first boring races we've had of the regatta.
Yeah. I don't know if you're hearing me, but I'm excited for this race 73 coming up. MIT versus Oregon State, a little battle of the Beavers. Red and yellow. Red and yellow. Red and yellow.
Is this just remarkable or what? How many races have we done, Brooks?
Right now, this Georgetown Galveston race is 71, and this Tufts Badgers race is race 72. And cooking up down here, we got 73, Oregon State and MIT.
Yeah, it's just
So
incredible.
again,
I mean,
it
race
is the
committees,
intention
if
of the
you're
race
out there
committee-
watching all this, these are very short races, but if we can do 90 of them in a day, we should be able to at least do 5 or 6 in a 2 days in a normal regatta.
Yeah, I was just gonna remind the competitors that it is the intention today to run 96 races. So we still got, let me put my math hat on, 23 left.
Yeah, sometimes race committees get bogged down and they try to run too perfect of races and take too long to get going. And this is proof that if you just get 5 buoys out here or 6 buoys and throw a few whistles around, you can pull off a ton of races.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for a while it was getting frustrated for the from the PRO's perspective. That current was ripping, the breeze was light, the rotation was taking a long time. But now that this breeze has found itself and the current's calmed down a little bit, they've been banging off races at quite the clip.
Yeah, I mean, we're holding range on everything. There's no more outgoing tide, and I think the tide's actually slack here, and the sea breeze has decided to come in kind of at the same time.
Yeah, we were saying the slack, full slack, John, was going to be at 4:30, and it's definitely going to get calmer inside and switch inside before it switches into deeper water. And just now here at the start, we have MIT versus Oregon State. MIT in yellow, Oregon State in the red. Battle of the Beavers. Those are two ferocious-looking beaver graphics right there on the screen.
Yeah, we've got the MIT team has just had a great start, and it's the team helmet. MIT, they all wear helmets, and you know, it's kind of a team statement of unity that they're all going to do the same thing, and I don't think they're worried about their safety in these conditions, but kind of cool.
Well, MIT, John, actually, one of their fleets, they designed their own version of FJ with the traditional, it's not a traditional FJ, it's called a turbo FJ, and the boom is about, I think, 4 or 5 inches higher than it normally is. And the issue there is sailor safety. You know, who's gotten hit in the head with a boom before? I know I have several times. So they designed these special FJs just to eliminate that risk.
Yeah, my feeling is they can make those iPhone covers so thin. I'm wondering, why can't we make helmets ultra thin and still be really good protection? Yeah, we need LifeLock helmets, I guess.
We got Colton and John back in the start.
Well, again, a kind of a boring race
Yeah,
out
nice.
here. We got a 1-2-4 for MIT.
Yeah, these last couple races have been a bit of not the most exciting team racing action we've seen thus far. Yeah, just checking back in with that Tufts Wisconsin race. Tufts at the finish is just about to finish. So up here at the weather mark, though, we got MIT cruising around Oregon State.
Hobart, BC.
Yeah, it still surprises me why the third place boats in these races don't just try to take out the other boats even more before they get around the offset. What's the deal there, Brooks? Wouldn't you just try to hammer 4th, 5th, and 6th and let your 1-2 just run away?
I mean, you would, John, but you can think of, you know, you can kind of classify that if we're making an analogy to a different sport. It's like running up the score, you know. The two boats right here for MIT are very much running away, and it doesn't look like any of those Oregon State boats are remotely in the same zip code.
got this Stanford University of Hawaii coming upwind right now.
Yeah, so coming upwind, we have Stanford versus the University of Hawaii. Stanford in the... Where's my rotate? Here it is. Stanford in the blue, Hawaii in the orange. Little Pacific Coast rivalry. The two teams that qualified out of the PCCSC Sailing Conference.
And yes, Brooks, Stanford lost one race in that qualifier, and it was to Hawaii.
Stanford might be out for blood here, but I consider this one of these trap races, John. You know, earlier we didn't have it on the screen, but I was watching it out of the corner of my eye. That Charleston-Eckerd race certainly started to mix up a little bit at the bottom, and no easy out, obviously, at the national championship. But these two teams that have been sailing together all year long and have a little bit of a rivalry for sure. Hawaii is going to look certainly wouldn't mind playing spoiler here for the Cardinal.
Yeah, the Cardinal had a good start, and this is going to be tough for Hawaii here to get back before the first mark.
Yeah, John, earlier we were talking, I was thinking Hawaii might get a little more comfortable when the breeze came up. A little more like home for them.
Yeah, they practice obviously in tons of breeze, and that was the book that's...
So, John, we were talking earlier about these races. I mean, we're at race number, this is race number 74 right now, Stanford and Hawaii. 74 races in one day. Not only is it a long day just for the race committee, but it's also a long day for the competitors. You know, we've been out here, the first start was at 10 o'clock this morning. It's now just after 4, so what's that? That's 6 long hours. And a lot of these teams have only got 9 races in, so it's just a long day, a slog, and it's super important you stay focused. Keeping yourself hydrated. The coaches do a great job of that, making sure their competitors are staying focused and fueled up. Because later in the day, that's when we start seeing a couple things, some shakeups happen that might mess things up a little bit. And just right now, looking downwind, we got Hawaii catching right back up to the Cardinal.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was wondering what was going on, why we were starting to have some races that were just boring. And I think some people are really starting to get tired, like you were just talking about.
Sorry, John, I didn't quite catch that, John. Could you please repeat that?
Yeah, I noticed that the races have gotten kind of not quite as exciting for some teams, and I equate it to them losing a little steam, getting a little tired.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's not only a testament to these races just being as a result of that. I think it's kind of a byproduct of each other. You know, these races, as we've been noting, aren't that exciting. So I think the racers kind of just like, okay, this is, you know, a boring part of the day. They lose that mentality a little bit. So I think this next flight or two, as we start to wind things down here in this flight, that's when we could start seeing some of these upsets, and you know, might have a couple races that are just a wake-up call for a team that just snap out of it. So it looks like the Rainbows of Hawaii might be in a position here to make a play. Boat number 12 for the Bows. Might sneak in here in the 2 spot, and if their teammate can get around boat 6, not quite close enough. But Hawaii certainly in a position to mix it up with the Cardinal right now with boat number 12 could cause some damage at mark number 4.
Yeah, unfortunately, Chucky Eaton, the leader in that pack, just didn't do anything, for Hawaii there. Just didn't make a move and just left his teammates in 4th and 5th. 5th and 6th.
Yeah, John, so it looks like the Cardinal are going to hold on to this one. Well, the Bows are keeping the pressure on, and a win here for the Cardinals is going to put them at 7-3 right there at the top, joining everybody else with 7 wins. And for perspective on these standings right now, folks, just to show you how tight this racing is, there's a 4-way tie for first at 7-2, so with 2 losses, and then 10th MIT with 4 losses, and of course 9th has 3 losses. So essentially, one loss separates first and being eliminated from the gold round right now. Checking in, there's a race right now. Navy versus Eckerd. Navy in the green boats. Eckerd in pink. Pretty solid in a 2-3-4 until boat number 9 just had to do looked like they might have gotten a 720 penalty turn, but the Triton's certainly mixing it up right now with one of the regatta leaders. The Tritons have been picking off teams all day. They've upset, I wouldn't say, they've beaten ODU and Tufts, so wouldn't be surprised to see them mixing it up with the midshipmen right now. So it's a question of boat 9 right now.
Are we looking at pink and green?
We were.
Oh.
So back at the start real quick, another great one. After all those couple slower races, we got some barn burners coming up. We got Boston College and Hobart, BC in the blue boats, Hobart in the red. BC with a nice start, trying to just get off the line.
Yep, Scotty Sinks hit that line full speed and just sailing the boat really flat there in boat 18 and just taking off.
Yeah, John, you were asking me earlier about what the mentality is like. What are you seeing in the body language for these sailors? Are some of them noticeably getting a little tired, having to work a little bit harder in this increased velocity of breeze?
I actually think they would be more tired and worn out if it was light wind. They're starting to have fun, so I think we're starting to see a second wind on these guys with, 11 knots of breeze blowing through. So I think these guys are all looking like spring chickens to me right now.
Yeah, perfect. That's good to hear. The weather temperature is so nice here, and the water temperature, I'm not quite sure what it is, but I know it's something warm. So getting that splash on the face might be a little bit on the refreshing side.
Yeah, and it's just fun. They're just finally stretching their legs and having fun, and that's giving them that second wind, I think.
Yeah, I think as a crew myself, John, I'm certain you can speak to this. There's the light days when you're all hunkered down in the forward, and on those same days when that breeze kicks in, you can start to quite literally stretch your legs out. It's a little bit of a reassuring, puts the smile on the face for sure.
Yeah, and as people I race with, professionals, we can make it through days pretty easy now after 40 years of racing, but these guys are still 18 to 22 years old, so emotions play a much bigger factor in this racing than on the professional world. And as they mature, they don't wear out as easy. But right now, it looks like they're all loving this.
You were commenting on it a lot earlier, John, just the fitness, how the game has changed in the last 10 years. All these programs starting to put such a premium on fitness, working out in the gym and getting some routine. Some of them, a lot of these varsity programs even have their own trainers dedicated to just them. And I think that's reflective right now. I mean, in these conditions, this is what they're used to. They're not even fatigued. Yeah, it looks like some of those boats might have overstood right there. Boat 16 ripping pretty hard right now. Again, BC in blue, Hobart, William Smith in red. We're seeing boat 2 do a penalty turn. Didn't see an umpire flag, so that might have been just a quick 360 to try to exonerate themselves, which is a sigh of relief for the Eagles because they were rounding in that 1-2-6 combination that we've seen broken up so many times today. So John, what are you seeing from down there on the water? Are any of these Hobart boats going to make a move to try to get forward on any of these Boston College boats?
This race is over, actually. I see 2 Hobart boats that are definitely sucking into 4 or 5 position right now.
Oh, really? So that third BC. Oh, I see them right there too in the middle of the screen right now. Yeah.
They're making the Brooks move again.
Good call, John. I didn't even see that. It's
and everybody else messes with each other, and all of a sudden the race just gets crammed back up.
I don't know if we want to call that the Brooks move. I don't want to say that I'm the first person that ever thought about doing that, because I definitely was not. So if this result holds, a loss for the Statesmen will give them 4 losses, and all of a sudden dropping from 6th to tied for 10th.
Looks like BC did a good job there just protecting.
Now, we were pretty tuned in on this BC Hobart race. Didn't quite see the end of that thrilling Eckerd Navy race that was mixing it up on that downwind. So we'll refresh the scores and give you that as soon as we can. Yeah, BC starting to put the hammer down now on the Statesmen. So John, I think we're just about to hit slack tide right now. We're gonna have to see it switch. Everything that went out today is gonna start coming back in. I don't think we're gonna be really racing long enough to see that really start to affect when it's really ripping. But something to think about, you know, a lot of these coaches are probably telling their players in their ears, just, you know, think about that. Be cognizant that all of a sudden these long downwinds that were long earlier and the short upwinds are gonna start to be the opposite.
Yeah, that's one of the things, you know, you can talk to people about current and they're always talking about, oh, I got to find shallow water to find relief and all this, but there's so much more about current. The effect on the apparent wind, the effect on the length of legs and the effects of ley lines and starting ley lines and things. So right now the upwind and downwind times are much more even now than they were earlier.
Yeah, and I think in a place like this, you know, maybe you want to think that shallower water is more current relief just because there's less water to move in the shallower waters than it would be in a deeper lane. But current changes so much here in Charleston, and there's always some water moving. It starts to definitely switch before. It starts to switch before in the shallower water than it does in the deeper. So I wouldn't be surprised if down here, I'm looking at the committee boat right now, going to keep my eye on them to see when that starts to rotate, pointing the opposite direction, starting to feel a bit of current effect.
Yeah, we actually are inside of that current line, right near the ship here. It's definitely switched inside here first.
Yeah, right down here in the start, we got the Texas A&M Galveston Aggies in orange versus the Wisconsin Badgers in the green. Two teams that are still looking for their first win of the regatta, so a lot on the line here.
Yeah, these are some teams that we need to show some love for and give them some publicity, because we don't expect them to be around once we get to the round of 8.
Johnny, I don't know if you were hearing me earlier. I was talking about the Galveston team. Just so many good sailors come down out of Texas. It's kind of surprising that they've never been able to quite get a squad together that's really competitive at these events.
Yeah, and you know what I think happens is when these teams get opportunities to come to the Nationals, it gets people really excited. And I would anticipate what that does is brings in some more recruits for those smaller club teams. And maybe over the next couple of years, we start to see some of those Texas kids, champion Texas kids from, Lake Travis and Lakewood Yacht Club and things like that, and see some of these kids coming up and joining their Texas college teams.
Absolutely. We were talking about Wisconsin earlier, similar deal. So many great sailors out there in the Midwest. Kind of surprising. We were talking about the Cooch brothers earlier. Had a nice little run there. And I think there's a third Cooch sibling currently on the water racing for him. But definitely a program that could be potentially a force if they can attract some of that local talent. Great shot right here of all these boats fighting upwind, hiking hard on that starboard tack, the entire fleet. Again, Wisco in the green, Galveston in the orange. A little bit of jib-ragging right there by boat number 9 on boat number 14, seeing if they can do anything to get their teammate in boat 7 through.
Very nice job up here by Wisconsin to be able to hold on to an overlap at the windward mark and do a pass back to get Wisconsin into a 2-3-5 here.
Yeah, 2-3-5 is a winning
2-3-6
combination for the Badgers right now. But Galveston's certainly in a position that this race is by no means over, as we could see a little bit of chaotic movements right here on this downwind from either team. Now, a lot of engagement over there by these two teams over there on the in that group. We got looks like there might have been some contact there between boat 7. I'm seeing some protest hails going on. John, did you see anything right there?
All right. Up, yep. There you go. You called it, brother. I didn't think they touched.
Huh. Interesting.
Red flag.
We heard that umpire yell 7 from all the way up here on the Yorktown, so with authority.
I have no idea what happened there. I was looking at a different situation. I'm not sure why the leader just had to do penalty turns. I'm confused.
So coming up into Mark 3, it looks like Wisco is going to be in a 1-4-5 play 4 opportunity. 1-3-4, excuse me. Let's see if boat number 8 there for the Aggies can cause a little bit of havoc down here at Mark 3. And the Badgers are cooking it on the Aggies right now. Ooh, bit of a luffing action right there by boat number 9 for the Aggies. But might not have been enough to get their teammates back in, but there is still one long upwind beat left.
Well, I have to say, I think that Wisconsin race out there is probably about as active a race as I've seen. I've seen more tacks and jibes in that race than any.
Oh, finally something to wake us up a little bit. It was getting a little sleepy over there for a while on the water.
We got Yale and Georgetown.
So, John, while this race starts to wrap up on the docket coming in soon, the next start is going to be Georgetown versus Yale. The current two teams that are currently tied up at the top of the standings at 7-2.
Yeah, it's just amazing to watch this. You know, even Yale, who's lost a race to a team they probably never should have lost to, and then they lost one other race. And I was just watching them, and they were just joking around with each other and big smiles on their faces. You know, I think these teams would race even if we didn't keep results. I think these kids would all be out here loving this.
So as Wisco's starting to wrap up, it looks like they are going to hold on to this victory over Galveston. Let's see if we can't check in with that Georgetown-Yale race down about to starting underway soon. So we got Yale in the blue boats and Georgetown in the orange. Azul y naranja.
Yep.
Ooh, and
There we
Georgetown
go.
puts
This
the
is
gas
the
on
race,
at the start
everybody.
over 3 Yale boats, but
Two
they got
teams that
one
are
more.
tied, Georgetown against Yale right there. Beautiful start there on one of the Georgetown teams there. We got Yale right here, Malcolm Lampier.
Yeah, I see
hiking
boat 11
hard
pretty far back
in
there,
boat
John. Were they
6.
doing a spin earlier?
Sean Segerbloom in boat 12 right there. Oh, this is Ian Barrows.
Look at that, working
actually.
hard. Very
Four-time
great visual.
All-American.
Hey, John, did you see why boat 11 for Georgetown was so late to the start? Yeah, as his velocity picks up, you know, it's The boat handling changes, obviously, less of a premium on like that roll and tacking execution, but heavier tacks are almost more difficult, you could say, than getting that perfect roll tack. Hey, John, a good indicator of the current lightning up here is that seawall, that bottom left corner isn't too noisy anymore, not a lot of reverb.
Yes, I agree. That reverb has all gone away. Tide is pretty slack here.
And this is just champagne sailing conditions. I think we're going to see a pretty exciting downwind as Yale in the blue might be coming in with a. It's going to be interesting to see if 5-6 are going to get over the top of 10 and 12. I can't quite see the depth from right here, but it looks like 1 Georgetown boat's around and 2 Georgetown boats are around, with 5 and 6 hot on their heels.
Yeah, I think Georgetown just started well and balanced out well.
But we've seen this before, John. One of Georgetown's first losses, they rounded in a 1-2-6, much like this with a deep 6. It was the race when their teammate ran aground, and it's just like this, 1-2-6. It's actually that same boat, boat number 11.
Yeah, unfortunately, Malcolm Lampier on Yale just hit the weather mark for no reason, and so that didn't help.
So John, we were talking a minute ago about the how long today is and that they're intending on racing to race 96. We just received word from the race committee that they now intend to sail until race 102. So that's a whole nother flight that they want to get under their belt. So it looks like they're going to race as long as they can tonight, John. And the Hoyas do not pooch this lead right now on this downwind as they maintain their 1-2 as they approach Mark 3. Yale's still chomping at the heels, and it's going to be a bit of a, Georgetown's just running away right now. It's the best thing that they can do. The breeze is up. Just grind it out on this final beat. You're in the camera when they move. No. Well, no. This is the. This.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm just coming to watch. It's perfect vantage
Hey, John, it's interesting how, we were kind of hyping this race up, Georgetown, Yale, the two heavy hitters, but there really wasn't too much team racing going on this race. It was kind of just a run away from Georgetown. some of these races you kind of hope that's going to be a bit more mixed up and who's got the right maneuvers.
Yeah, I think this is just a different regatta this year. You know, again, the women's regatta seemed to be affected by just the crazy conditions compared to San Diego last year. Last year was champagne conditions compared to the last 5 days. And today, you know, Yale's seeing, you know, some dicey conditions. They're having a harder time being that dominant group that they usually are.
We got some kiteboarders ripping around up there. Ooh.
Brooks, does it look like Yale got it back
Coming into
into
the
this
finish
race?
right now. Yale did absolutely get back into this race. How's 5 going to do on boat 10? They got a pin. No one is laying the line right now. One Yale boat tacks boat 4. And boat number 11 is going to come in. They might have to save the day. Big dial down on 11 and boat 6. So it's going to be a 2, a 3, and a 4 or 5 for the Hoyas. So they're going to hang on to that one. Wow. I lost my focus in that one, John. I'm sorry. What happened there? Did you see? Wow. So what? Yale might have had someone spring free, unable to be covered by Georgetown. Wow.
So what happened
Right when we
there,
were
Brooks?
talking
What
about
was
how
it,
there hasn't
Dan?
been a
Was
whole
it
lot of team racing in
2-3-5
that
win
race.
for Georgetown? Yep, Stanford Cardinal. And oh, MIT again doing very well off the line.
We are going to cover the yellow and black race next.
Yep, so I think MIT has a 1, 3, 4.
Go back to the starting line. Stop
And
calling
so I again, MIT
Yeah,
with the
so
helmets coming
this-
out here and giving some other teams with more experience fits.
No, this is a big race right here for the engineers of MIT. A loss would give them 5 losses, and right now it looks like you're going to need. Right now, everyone that's sitting even at that 8 spot, last spot in, is 4 losses, and a 5th loss would put them even below Old Dominion. So they would need to win here, and a loss for Stanford, however, would only consolidate the racing in for those last couple spots in the gold round even more.
Okay, we've got ODU and Navy back at the starting line. Best breeze of the regatta
another
from a standpoint of the sea breeze conditions. This is 12 knots, 13 knots, pretty much full hike. This is when we're going to start to see the Z420s really get up and go.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And I think this is another must-win race for both teams. Looking at the results, Old Dominion and Navy. Both teams currently sitting at 4 losses, and a loss here for either team would keep them on the outside looking in, no doubt. Hearing some fired up midshipmen down there, though. Hooting and hollering. We throw the graphic.
What?
The graphic.
You make the yellow and black dash. So can we go to, can we go off Levon?
So quick update from that race that we were following a little bit earlier, that MIT Stanford race. MIT was in the blue, is in the blue boat, Stanford in the red. It looks like Stanford is in a controlling position right now with a 2-3 questionable. Ooh, maybe
Yep.
MIT is a 1-4-5. Ooh.
Yeah, Stanford didn't wait this time. They were they were a 2-3-6 going into the mark, and as soon as they got around that offset mark, they've gone into attack mode to try to get into a 2-3-5.
Yeah, that one MIT boat is very far out front right now. And that other one on the outside is in the 4 is just rocketing on the outside, so this might turn into a 1-2 for the engineers.
You are correct, Brooks. They're making the move called the Brooks.
Oh, I'm honored.
Brooks has a move.
Not to be confused with my dance floor moves, Sean. So they were looking pretty hot at the moment, but that MIT boat might get the door slammed on them. But again, great job by the boat in 5 for the engineers. That gap is massive on the 5-6 behind them. We'll check back in with that one in a second, but right now at the starting line in the black and yellow boats, we have Old Dominion in the yellow, Navy in the black. A must-win race for both Mesa rivals.
Yes, great start by Navy at the just below the boat end. And one boat on Hobart got back at that committee boat end pretty well.
Yeah, Navy in a tough spot early here, trying to play catch up as ODU is in control of a couple pairs early. I do like boat number 12 for Navy right now, John. Up the middle, unprotected. Looks like they're going to hook into some nice pressure soon. They might be in a very strong position as they approach the weather mark. Great shot right here as we're just seeing how close these boats really are on the race course. And this isn't even considered close. Look how comfortable they are together. Boat 5 doing a great job of just holding on right now. The Navy boat to weather, of course, is trying to keep them pinned and not let them tack and give them as much bad air as possible. But Old Dominion is doing a great job just keeping their bow slightly forward and just not going away. Looks like that Old Dominion boat's going back for even more on that left-hand side, and they're being blanketed nicely by that Navy boat. So let's see what happens if these two boats out left, how they're going to come together as the fleets start to converge with the two pairs out right.
Looks like Navy setting up Play 2 here, 2, 3, 4 is their what they're going to come around here.
Yeah, so it looks like those boats that are on the right-hand side of the race course are crossing. Well, most of them were. So again, ODU in yellow, Navy in the black. It's pretty even across the board right now. I guess I want to say Navy's in control of this race at the moment, but it's very much up in the air. John, what are you seeing up there at Mark 1?
Yeah, Navy just lost the 2-3-4. They're going to be a 2-3-6. They got, but Hobart's going to get a penalty here.
Oh, you mean Old
Yep,
Dominion.
he's
It
only
looks
gonna
like
do
the
it. He's not
sailors
gonna
fall
let
out
the
of their boat
judges
for
call it.
Navy? Guess not. But a penalty
Oh, Brooks,
turn
I have a
would be
question.
costly
What
for the
if-
Monarchs right now.
What
Yeah.
if you foul your own teammate?
Oh, then that's a foul. You got to spin.
Yep, so that's why
A foul's a
ODU
foul
had
no
to
matter
do a
which
penalty
team it's
for
on.
fouling. And then they also hit their teammate after the foul.
Ooh, that's a dumb foul. That might come back to bite him in the butt for sure.
Yeah, it was a bummer because they had done such a good job to get Patrick Snow on starboard. Patrick tacked on to starboard, and if that guy had anticipated, he would have never been there. He would have tacked sooner. So really, really lucky for Navy there.
Yeah, Navy setting up nicely in a 2-3-4. Look for that boat, the farthest right boat though for Old Dominion, uncovered, coming in hot downwind. The move that you've been calling the Brooks. But Navy does seem to be holding on to this 2-3-4 right now. Very, very disciplined, well-coached team with some wheels. Navy's a very dangerous team. So if Old Dominion has an opportunity to break up this, I'd be pretty impressed if Old Dominion's able to break this up. Yeah, we're seeing up at the front at Mark 3, we're seeing that ODU boat being forced around the mark right now by the Navy boat. And Navy does indeed round in a 2 and a 3, and that boat in the 4 doing an excellent job of just cleaning up down there. Taking out the garbage.
Well, I definitely notice a little more fire in that Navy team, man. They are chomping at the bit out here.
No, you're right, John. Before the race going, they were blowing the sounds for the horns, and we could hear them all the way up here. They were all hooting and hollering. So we're seeing that Navy boat right there in the middle crack off to get a little bit more of a wind effect, a wind shadow on that other on that ODU boat. As we see that farthest leading ODU boat tacking over to cover just to try to make anything happen. It's an interesting position being in the 1 when you're chasing in a 1.56. You just got to attack everybody, but you got to attack everybody, which isn't very easy to do. But you got to pick vulnerable boats and attack them when they're slow and weak, kind of like life in the animal kingdom. But Navy, again, very disciplined, doing an excellent job keeping this 2-3-4 weave set up beautifully. I will say, we were saying it earlier, it's important to not get carried away and take the one if you are in a 2-3-4, even if the opportunity presents itself. And this black Navy boat on the left might have an opportunity to cross this ODU boat. So it's very important that they did good, very good move right there to duck the one, obviously due to right of way, but don't force anything. They don't even want that lee bow. Just keep ODU in the one and confused and away from a position to hit any of the other teammates.
We're gonna have, yeah, you're gonna have to take the antenna with you.
Getting a little tight up there at the finish, but it looks like Navy was able to hang on and skate through, maybe even ODU getting a late foul and having to refinish.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to hold there. I know you need help. Maybe could you just grab somebody randomly for a little bit, or a little spread bigger.
Going upwind right now, we have the Tufts Jumbos in red with Boston College in the yellow boats. Two teams that are currently on the inside looking out. Tufts surprising a lot of people, specifically me. And again, Tufts in red, race 85. Tufts in red, Boston College in yellow. BC seems to be in control of this one. The NISA rivals, no love lost between these two squads. Ooh, boat number 2. Yeah, got that camera going on this Tufts BC race. BC in the yellow, Tufts in the red. BC in and controlling 1-2 at the moment, but boat 3 for Tufts might be in a position to strike as they're going to start to soak it low and fast. The unfortunate thing for Tufts is off screen is their teammate in last place who is stomping on the gas pedal right now to get back into this one. And so Boston College holding on to this 1-2 at the moment. That Tufts boat was having a lot of speed coming into that mark, but the angle just might not have been tight enough for them to get ahead. One BC boat around, two BC boats around. And that might be the nail in the coffin here for the Jumbos. Big win for the Eagles. Big win for It's a big loss for the Jumbos. A big one for the Eagles. Excuse me. That other race we're seeing on our screen right now, this blue and orange race, now that Boston College seems to have wrapped up Tufts, blue and orange race 86, Georgetown versus Hobart William Smith. The Hoyas in blue, Hobart in orange. Hobart looks to be in control of this one early. Oh, this is a great shot right here. We're getting both of these races. That BC race, again, BC does seem to be in control over the Jumbos, and I think that result will hold into the finish line. But hopefully we'll get the check back into that orange-blue race. Georgetown in blue, Hobart in orange. Yeah, so Boston College extends their 1-2. Is going to cruise on into the finish line here. Updating you on that Georgetown Hobart race. Hobart is very much in control, about to round the first weather mark in orange against the Hoyas in blue. Looks like Hobart's going to round in a 1-2, it looks like. Yeah, so Hobart's rounding that mark right now. Hobart rounds that mark and planes off on that top reach, blasting off into a 1-2. Again, a 1-2-6. We've seen that a lot so far today, so nothing is for certain right now. So Hobart is still in control of that 1-2. That third boat on your screen right there is the Georgetown Hoya, the lone shot they have of breaking this up, as the other three boats in the fleet are quite far behind, not even in the frame right now. But I do think Hobart, a much-needed win here for the Statesmen, affirming themselves into that top group. A big win over the Hoyas, which would put the Hoyas at 7-4 in a currently three-way, that'd be a four-way tie for that last spot in. Well, all right, we're going to throw it over to John real quick. I think he's got one of the sailors over there on the dock.
Most impact on you?
Me personally, I guess my grandpa, he kind of taught me how to sail.
Good. Do you want to say thank you to your grandpa?
Thanks, Grandpa.
Okay, well, thank you, Natalie. It was really, really great to see you here.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Okay.
See if we can check
Checking
back
out
in on
here.
that Georgetown race. Nice interview, John. Thanks for that. Always great to hear from the teams up there in the Pacific Northwest, like the Beavers. So yeah, Hobart was in control in a 1-2, and that one boat, boat 6, for the Hoyas had the one shot to get into it. They might have put themselves in a position to pull ahead. At least get a piece. All you need to do in this situation, if you're Georgetown, you're still chasing, you're still losing, but just get a piece of one boat. That's all you need in this point in the race. And boat 6 coming back right now. Are they going to get a piece of boat 10? Big cross right here. Boat 10 ducks, so the Hoyas are still very much alive in this race. So right now, Hobart just trying to run away. These Hoyas are getting very feisty, getting a piece of them. We saw boat 6, boat 10 duck boat 6 earlier. But can the Statesmen hold on? Again, seeing if boat 6 does have the wheels. And what's this? One of the Hobart boats must have had to do a circle, because all of a sudden the Hoyas are boat 6 and boat 4's in the mix now. In a 1-5-6. Wow. Some events must have transpired while we were on John's interview. So I'm bummed I missed what happened there, but it looks like the Hoyas are actually going to snap the tape here and get a 2-3-4 win over, are going to get a win over the Statesmen. So big win for the Hoyas. We're going to throw it over to John real quick, back on the dock with some more sailors. What you got, John?
All right, another interview here. We overheard Kevin Wilkinson here from San Francisco. He runs the junior program at South Beach Yacht Club in San Francisco. His sons grew up with Molly Vandemore at the Peninsula Youth Sailing Foundation, and he might be one of the only only one parent that has 2 kids sailing in this event. One freshman at Hawaii and one junior at Oregon State. You must be very proud of your kids.
Here, I'm loving it and enjoying Charleston, and great sailing to watch, and it's a wonderful spectator sport.
Did you expect your children to be sailing in college sailing when they started out at age 8 or 9 in an Opti or something?
No, I forced them. It was you're either going to sail or you're going to, forget it. You're going to go to bed. So yeah, no, I didn't expect this, and I'm so glad they're here, and I'm very proud. Yes.
Yes. Now, they didn't get to sail in the women's event, so this is their first event. Have you been listening to their conversations, Doc? How are the teams feeling?
They're just having fun. Oregon State, this is their first time at the Nationals, and so they're fighting hard to to do their best. And Hawaii's been to the Nationals before, so they want to do as good as they can. And and there's a little bit of family rivalry going on there between the brothers. And I think they hope to advance tomorrow to the semifinals. So
well, that's just great. Congratulations on having 2 kids here. That's just a special occasion for you guys, and hopefully they can get a couple wins in here and build some confidence. Thank you.
thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, beautiful day, amazing stories. Some teams that won't be around probably tomorrow, so we want to hit on them and really give them an opportunity to shine a little.
Hearing some starting horns just going out down there at the oh, missed that race entirely. Coming upwind right now in the red and the blue, we have the Eckerd Tritons in red, the Hawaii Rainbows in the blue. Two teams that are kind of, I'd say, are pretty evenly matched going into this. Right now, Eckerd sitting at 6 and 5, Hawaii sitting at 4 and 7. I had them both on the outside looking into my final 8, but certainly two teams from warm locations with good breeze. So Eckerd, again in the red, Hawaii in the blue. Hawaii with a deep 6 at the moment. And Eckerd, but they do have a 2-3. So a 2-3 deep 6, certainly not out of this one. If Eckerd can make this 1-4-5 play effectively, you want to think that, looks like the Hawaii boats are chasing down that Eckerd boat in first, where I think they should be looking backwards and trying to put the hammer down that boat behind them. Looks like that Hawaii boat on the outside, boat 17, might have done enough to get at least switching up the play. Gets through that Eckerd boat. As you see the Eckerd boat do a big luff up. Hawaii just kind of cruising back into this race. Now 1-4-6 for the Bows. The Bros. I think we can see Eckerd execute this leeward mark grounding efficiently, convert their 2-3-5 into a 2-3-4 with quite ease. Maybe not. So if that Hawaii boat can make a pass right now on that boat number 3 for that last Eckerd boat, all of a sudden they're going to be a 1-4-5 combination. We are seeing a big luff. That's a very interesting strategy to be gapping in the 2-3-5 when you're the 5. I think you need your teammates in the 2 and the 3 need to be yelling at them to make that pass back happen, hammer that blue boat right there behind you, and get that 2-3-4 solid combination.
This is just incredible race, isn't it, Brooks?
Oh, it's one of those races you just seem like no one really wants to win this race. You know, there's been several opportunities for both teams thus far to lock it down and put them away, but no team really seems interested right now in getting the W.
Well, I think that's where the experience of being in the Northeast is a real advantage in this. You know, you just get tougher competition in those 4 or 5 regattas you do in the mid-fall there, early spring, and these teams just don't show that experience.
Yeah, I'd expect to see a little bit more out of the Eckerd Tritons. They do get to go to just down there in St. Pete, not only racing against the Charleston Cougars and the other SASA teams, but they get the invites to some of the events up the coast. So this is going to turn into how long that Eckerd boat on the left-hand side of your screen can hold on to that pin. If this boat right in the middle, that red boat, can get through, and it looks like he is going to cross that Hawaii boat handedly. So are they going to cross those two boats even farther up the leg though, and coming on the right? Yeah, it doesn't seem like either of these teams really know what play they're in. I kind of said that jokingly that no one really wants to win this race, which obviously isn't the case, but one of these teams has to do something. It's just a fleet race right now. Does look like Eckerd might be in a position to pull away finally in this one. Boat number 1 and boat number 3 here. Oh, maybe even boat number 2 might be enough to get the Tritons through the finish line. Yeah, so that's going to be a 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 for the Tritons. So that race is finally over. All right, looks like we're going to throw it down to John real quick, who's standing on the dock. John, what you got for us this time?
Yeah, we are here with Tomas Brawley, a junior from Texas A&M Galveston. They did an amazing job in their qualifier. And Thomas, do you help with your team organization? You guys are a club team, right?
We are a varsity team, and yes, I do. I am not. We work together. We all kind of throw in. Our current team captain is out on the water right now racing, so I'm stepping in for him.
And then you guys must be very comfortable in this breeze. You must be feeling quite good later in the afternoon here because you sail in Galveston where it's breezy. What position are you in the regatta? Are you sailing?
Yes, I am. I am a heavy air crew, so I'm all ready to go. And so whenever we get out there, we can take it on. We are used to it for sure.
And then, why do you do the sport? Why do you love sailing? What makes you want to join your team at Galveston and do the sport?
Been doing it all my life. I just love it. I don't know how you couldn't. You get a little wet, you get a little salty, but it's all right. At the end of the day, you come home and you're ready to go again.
Yeah, and you come from Texas, which, surprising to Brooks and I, the other commentator, is Texas is a hotbed. You got Lakewood Yacht Club and all these clubs that produce so many sailors. But those sailors, are they leaving the state to sail? Is that it? Or do you anticipate more people staying home?
A lot do leave the state, if we want to be honest. But at the same time, a lot stay home. A lot go to local schools. And, and I think in the future years, coming up, it is definitely going to pick up. It's definitely going to take off. So
really seems like it. Well, Tomas, good luck in your race in the next few minutes. Great job. Thanks a lot. Okay, that's a lot of fun. We're trying to recognize those teams that, might not be around tomorrow and are coming from the smaller districts, and they're out here duking it out with the big Northeast and the big Mid-Atlantic Conference. So a lot of fun to meet these special kids. And signing off. Thank you.
Well, John, all these teams will be here tomorrow. All these teams will be here tomorrow. No one's going home yet. We received word from the race committee that race 102, that's their target race they were going for. That will indeed be the last race of the event, of the day. So we got two more full flights here. Making our way up around the weather mark right now is the Charleston Cougars versus the Oregon State Beavers. Cougars in the orange, Beavers in the green, and the Cougars are running away with this one. Your current regatta leading College of Charleston Cougars, I would proudly say.
Let's go to red and yellow to start. Red and yellow to start. 91, red and yellow to start.
So cooking down there at the starting line right now. The Cougars are certainly running away with their race. You can see them on the screen right now, up and they're gone. Got a bit of a barn burner right now. We got the MIT Engineers versus the A&M Galveston Aggies. Just spoke with one of the Galveston sailors on the dock. So he's got to be all fired up. Galveston's still looking for that first win of the regatta.
UD Hobart's about to line up.
So going to win right now, we do have the Galveston Aggies and the MIT Engineers. MIT seems to be in control right now of this one. MIT, as the results currently sit on the outside looking in. They currently sit tied with the Hobart and William Smith Statesmen, who they have yet to sail, so there is no way to break that tie at the moment. MIT on the outside looking in at the moment, so a win here is just keep getting the wins that they can. And we've been saying it all day so far since the sea breeze kicked in, but this is certainly champagne conditions here on the Cooper River. For those of you that are watching us, thank you for tuning into the live stream powered by US Sailing. And what are you watching? You are watching the Laser Performance Team Racing College Sailing National Championship. For me, I'm Brooks Clark, so I've been with you guys all day today. I'll be with you all day tomorrow and all day on Monday. With me is John Rogers, who is currently out in the water, running around, getting great interviews with the sailors. And it is our pleasure to bring you this event it's my third year doing this commentary for you guys, and it is just an absolute hoot.
Up here, it looks like MIT's got a pretty good grasp on that race.
Yeah, we got a couple good ones cooking up in the kitchen though, John. We got right now at the starting line, Georgetown versus ODU. This is a must-win race for the Monarchs. If they lose this race by my count, it'll take a lot of external factors for them to have a shot at making that top 8. So Again, down at the start line, we have the Georgetown Hoyas in blue, Old Dominion in orange. But up on deck after that is the Naval Academy and Hobart. Navy will be in pink and Hobart will be in green. And if you're looking at the scores, these are obviously all teams that are near each other in the scorecard. Navy and Hobart currently tied. And again, must win for the Monarchs of ODU here against Georgetown. So looking at the scoreboard right now, we got, if you're not following along on tech score, we got the Cougars and Yale sitting at the top right now, sitting at 9-2. Those two teams have yet to race. I don't think we're going to get to that one yet today, as the race committee has decided race 102 will be the last race of the day for us. But we'll get to that one early tomorrow, no doubt. Georgetown, again, racing right now underway against the Old Dominion Monarchs. This is a must-win for the Monarchs, and a win here for the Hoyas will be big, separating them even a little bit farther. Below them, they have the Boston College Eagles sitting at 8-3, and the Cardinals sitting at 8-4 right behind them. It's all very close right now, folks. ODU, Hawaii, Northwestern, Beavers, and the Badgers. So here we go right here, that Old Dominion versus Georgetown race, two Mesa rivals. Mesa is the Mid-Atlantic Sailing District. A lot of good team racing schools out there. A couple of them didn't even make it out of their district qualifier due to the berths allotted in the Nationals. Again, a must win here for Old Dominion, and a win would be big here for the Hoyas. Looks like the Monarchs are chasing early in this one, John.
Yeah, the Monarchs are struggling. Once they get in the back a little bit, they just have a problem just keeping their boats moving. They've got a couple big sailors and can't just seem to get out of bad air well.
Do you think it has to do with the conditions as the breeze has increased?
No, I think they actually look better as the breeze increases, but there's something about the way they sail in the boat. They're just off the pace just that little bit, and when they get behind, they just can't seem to get back in.
So
I actually thought ODU was going to come on strong with the more breeze, but it just hasn't seemed to translate.
So, John, what are you seeing there around the weather mark? Is it close enough for the Monarchs to get back into this one, you think?
I don't think so. But I've been wrong before, as you know.
And if this results hold, I think by my calculations that we could eliminate the Monarchs from a chance of making that top 8. And 6 losses is going to be hard to overcome. But there's still a lot of racing left here in this round robin. There's going to be, how many flights are going to be tomorrow? We're stopping at the end of flight 17, so 1, 2, 3, 3 more flights tomorrow. So it's going to be 3 races for a lot of these teams. So the Hoyas are in control right now of this one very much. But the next race we were teasing for you guys earlier here, coming up next, underway now, we have the we have the Hobart William Smith Statesman versus the Naval Academy Midshipmen. So 2 back-to-back All Mesa teams right now on the race course. These teams are both tied on. I believe both these teams are tied in results, sitting at 7 and 4 at the moment. So this is a big race. A win here for either team would give them a lot more comfort as we start to get into that separation time into the gold and silver. So again, Navy in the pink boats, Hobart in the green, and it looks to be pretty evenly spread right now. Maybe I'd give a slight advantage to Navy coming up win. Hobart absolutely has the one in boat 13 coming across our screen right now on starboard, but there's a wall of midshipmen behind them. Could be a 2-3-4.
Yeah, just as you said that, Brooke, a little righty shoved in here, pushing Hobart William Smith into the 2-3-5, I believe.
And John, so just all you viewers at home, the sun is at a point in the harbor right in the middle of the race course, so we are having a little bit of difficulty shooting up around the sun. We do apologize for that. If you want to put your sunglasses on, I have. Again, we are coming to you live from the USS Yorktown in Charleston, South Carolina. At least I am. John and our team up here is, and John Rogers is out there on a boat right there, right next to this race. John, what are we seeing as we get close to Mark 1 here in this Navy Hobart race?
Yeah, Navy's either going to have a 2-3-4 or a 2-3-5 here. And if 8 can just tack and cross 14, which does not look like it's going to happen.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Okay,
You're
so
right. They're not able to get that top. 14 is doing a great
Navy
job
here.
keeping that pin on them.
Yep, it's going to be a 2-3-6 for Navy, actually. That was a good move for Hobart.
Looks like
Navy just got a penalty.
John, was that a
for
red
tacking
flag on
too
boat number
close.
8? There we go, tacking too close. So a flag for boat number 8 for Navy. So now a 2-3-6 for the midshipmen.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in that move. There was no reason why he rushed that tack. He was a definite not going to pass the 4th place boat, and he tried to luff up, and he got ruled that he his jib crossed and did a tack and fouled a boat that was just to windward of him.
Yeah, John, I think you see that sometimes. A lot of these teams, some of these sailors at this level try to get a little bit of a hero mode, try to do that sick move that people will be talking about for a couple days after the fact. But, you know, sometimes it pays off. More often than not, it does not. And it does look like the 2 Hobart boats directly behind the Navy boats have closed the gap, but that 6th boat for the Navy has closed the gap slightly.
I mean, this is a huge moment for Navy right here.
Yeah, this is going to be a very defining mark trap right here. They got to throw the brakes on, get their teammate in boat 6, excuse me, their teammate in 6th in boat number 8. Got to get them through and around, and it looks like boat 8 is in a position now to get to the inside which is better than being forced to the outside. So we got one Hobart boat around, two Hobart boats around. That's a tongue twister. Hobart boat. So Hobart's now in a 1-2 against the Naval Academy. And might have seen a protest hail from boat number 13 on Hobart. I saw a hand go up, but I don't know what it was. That's very disappointing for the midshipman right there on that mark grounding. John, did you see what happened at that leeward mark that got the two Hobart boats in, that got that Hobart boat inside?
I did not. I apologize. I did not see a mark trap set by Hobart. I saw a mark trap by Navy, but it turns out it didn't work.
So I think right now Navy just kind of has to hope that their boat speed, boat number 7 sending it out left right now, if they can get a piece of boat that appears to be boat number 13 on they come back, boat 7 tacks now, and let's see how they come when they consolidate. I don't think they're going to get it. Looks like boat 7 tried to do a little fake tack there to try to get boat 13 to get off their teammate in boat 7, or boat 8, excuse me. But the Statesman didn't bite.
Can I talk on this? John Colby? Who's the captain's on?
Yeah, so Hobart very much in control here. So they're actually, it looks like, I think we can go ahead and call this one and say that Hobart will indeed win this race over the midshipmen. We're in the home stretch, folks. We're within 10 races to go. That's race 93. That's finishing right now. And we're going to race 102.
Is there any granola bars up there you guys can bring out here? I think Colton's blood sugar is low.
So disappointing race for the midshipmen who are very much in control of that race. I can't imagine Coach Dylan Pava is very thrilled with them at this point. If you're hearing all those horns, folks, that's because one of the competitors happened to get in the way of one of the Yorktown ferries. Sailing in Charleston, you'll learn to watch out for boats that are bigger than you and will not stop. On our J22s, we have big old stickers that say, watch for ships, stay out of the channel. It's a big picture of a tanker, so you know what to look for. Upwind, we got Yale versus Northwestern. Yale in black, Northwestern in yellow. The Wildcats seeing if they can't give the defending champions a run for their money, but it seems as though Yale is in control early off the line. And this will be the last race of the day for the Elis, the Bulldogs, as they conveniently have a Flight 17 bye.
Let's try to do one more interview on the dock. And then John will come back to the studio for the last 3 races. And then probably 3 more races.
Yeah, so we got John with a couple more interviews on the dock. What you got for us this time, John?
Welcome back again. I'm here with one of the favorite people I've met this week, Mac from Charleston, College of Charleston. He's a junior, and you're going to be the team captain next year. What does that mean for you?
That just means basically relaying a lot of information between the coaches and the rest of the team and kind of motivating the crowd to get stuff done and just be the most effective we can be.
What do you love about the Charleston program?
I really like how this team feels like a big family, and we're so deep that everyone has very specific roles, whether it's another body on the water to make our A team better, or to go travel every weekend and sail the nationals. And it really feels like one big cohesive unit.
So you went to T.C. Williams High School. They're the Titans, right? From the movie Remember the Titans, that's the school he went to. And you started a high school team there, didn't you?
Yeah, I kind of got it to where we had an eligible team probably only 2 seasons out of my time there. But I did whatever I could and just kind of pulled kids out of the hallway and put them in an FJ. And so we were able to go to a qualifiers once or twice. But obviously, when you pull kids out of a hallway and put them in an FJ, we didn't do too hot, but did whatever I could. But coming to this program was definitely a big change from that. That was out of DC Sail, which is a community sailing program where a bunch of high schools from the DC area come together and try to get teams and go to stuff because we're in the middle of not a very big sailing community.
So is there anybody you want to thank on camera there for all of the support that's made you the sailor you are today?
Absolutely. Definitely Prague Kata, if he's watching this, and Ed Stacy, my parents for pushing me through those programs when it wasn't always the most fun, but those people have definitely been very influential. And then the Annapolis kids that I've met and the Annapolis Yacht Club for the brief amount of time that I sailed with them. But also just want to thank everyone here because I came in pretty raw compared to a lot of the kids and definitely have improved a lot from my teammates, coaches. I found a home here.
Yeah, so you guys can see why I picked this guy as my favorite new friend down here. Thanks, Matt. It was just really good to come down here, and thanks a lot for interviewing with us. That's great. All right. Well, there you go. Another great sailor from the College of Charleston.
Thanks, John. So Mac Dixon does have a sick time lapse that he filmed from the top of the Yorktown during women's regatta. It's on the U.S. Sailing Facebook page, so if you want to check that out, it's visually pretty cool.
So the next race we're going to cover is the yellow and blue, and that's MIT and Tufts.
That's great. Okay, so gearing up, we got an MIT Tufts race coming up, entering the final flight of the day, flight 17. As we get close to 102, race 102 here is the last race of the day, and we will be joined shortly by a very special guest up here in the booth. I was able to.
Can you spell your name out?
Yeah, so we've kind of highlighted 2 races here coming into the finish. This MIT Tufts race we have coming up on the docket, and then later down we have Hobart and Charleston, race 101, and that will be the last race we're going to try to cover for you guys today. So we're going to get you this MIT Tufts race coming up here soon, and Hobart and Charleston following. So we're joined now in the booth by none other than Yale head coach Zach Leonard. Zach came down for a snack, and we dragged him into the booth real quick. Yeah, funny how that works out. So we were hoping you would do a couple races with us here, these last 2. I understand if you got to get back down to your team, but while there's a little bit of a break in the action, 4-time defending national championship, what magic are you cooking up there in New Haven?
It's no magic. We just, the kids really enjoy the sailing, and they practice hard, and they work hard to be able to communicate in a way that lets you practice hard, and so that helps.
Definitely good insight there. I mean, so coming into this pre-start here, if we can throw it back down to the starting line, red and yellow, MIT in race 97. MIT's in red, Tufts in yellow. Zach, if you wouldn't mind shedding some of your team racing expertise during this race. Looks relatively
pretty even.
Yeah, pretty even off the line.
I mean, it looks like red's got a 6, but pretty even. There's going to be some speed for a while here.
Yeah, just definitely. I feel like a lot of teams just kind of fleet race to Mark 1. Is that a philosophy you like to preach, or?
I think that the level of team racing has gotten so high that you can't really do that anymore. You got to get into the place quite a bit quicker. So most teams are, in some combinations, going straight into the play right off the start.
Yeah,
so.
two teams you see frequently up there in NISA, MIT and Tufts. MIT the first time ever here at the Walter Wood Trophy. What they do differently this year to finally?
They did a fantastic job. It was the qualifier was in an extremely shifty place at Tufts, and they sail on the Charles River, so that's comfortable for them. But they sailed a great event, and they survived through the windy stuff, and then they did a great job the last day when it got lighter.
So still pretty split upwind right now. Looks like Tufts does in control of 2 pairs at the moment, marginally.
Yeah, the one on the right is a little bit iffy. That'll be the tiebreaker over there.
Yeah, boat 2 is kind of getting bow out right now. What were you telling your sailors earlier today when there was that weird current and you guys dropped a couple earlier on? What was going on over there?
Yeah, I don't know if it was because of the current. I think it definitely caused a lot of the sailors on every team to think that they were supposed to do different things than the normal play, and got people a little discombobulated. But in the end, if you don't foul and you keep your boat moving, you do pretty well. Most of the time when you lose races, it's because you stop and people pass you, simple things like that.
Yeah, I understand. So looking at the results so far today, you're starting to see that getting pretty close down there at that bottom. Who's going to be the last team in? Are there any teams up here in the top that are somewhat surprising that you didn't think they would do as hot as they are showing so far?
Yeah, I haven't seen the results in a while, but yeah, MIT's hanging in there. Good for them. Tufts started out really strong, so this is an important race for them. But no, it looks pretty similar to what you'd guess, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree. This is what starting to shape into what I had my top 8 prediction as well.
Maybe at the beginning of the day it didn't look quite like that.
Yeah, but I feel like early on in the regatta it's hard to really say because no one's really racing anybody yet. And like for example, Hobart was like 1-3 because they raced all these teams at the top first.
Right. You're right. That race at the end of the day today will be an interesting one. Hobart and Charleston.
So what was your favorite race so far out there today? Either your team or another race you happened to watch?
The one that was the closest was the race we had against Georgetown. That was an interesting race.
Yeah.
I haven't watched too many of the races other teams have been sailing, but that was a very up in the air until the last minute kind of race, so that was fun to watch.
It does sound like there will be a protest involved in that race. The ICSA text just went through that said that will be the case.
I think it may have already been decided, but I'm wrong. I might be wrong.
Don't want to break any
There's
news to you on
actually,
air.
I think there's another redress hearing.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's in that race.
Okay.
It's in a different race.
Okay.
But I haven't looked at the ICSA text.
Always cool not checking the phone. So we're seeing one of the MIT boats really just throwing it in park right now, waiting to. Clearly got too far out ahead. Do you think? Actually, Zach does have to leave. He has to go be coach for Yale right now. So Zach, thank you for even taking the short time. It was great to have you up here, and it was good to hear your sage wisdom.
My pleasure. It's great joining you, bro.
So coming into this weather, Mark, we do have MIT in red, Tufts in yellow, and it looks like MIT is going to round in a, Tufts is going to round in a 1-4-5, but it's 1 and 2 mixing it up right there for the Badgers. So MIT in yellow looks like they're in a 1-4-6 right now. Was doing some stuff up here in the booth. Didn't quite see what happened to that MIT boat to get him so far back. Gotta guess it's 720. So for the Tufts boat, MIT is red, Tufts is yellow. Both of these teams sitting with 4 losses right now. And a win here would certainly help solidify their case to get into that top group. Hey, John's back up in the booth. I missed you, John. I was getting lonely up here. Had to resort to Zach Leonard to keep me company.
It was awesome out there. The energy on that dock is just so exciting. I mean, it's just, especially interviewing those teams that are just so.
I don't think your mic's on, John.
Yep. Did you get me? So being on the dock was just great. You know, we got some interviews in there with some teams that won't be here tomorrow, and they're so excited to be here. And they're learning so much by being able to go against these big, East Coast teams that spend so much time at this. So
yeah,
it's really beautiful. I just had a wonderful time down there with those 3 or 4 interviews I just did.
Yeah, and it sounds like if time allows, they've been trucking through races today. I'm expecting similar efficiency tomorrow. They might try to weave in a little silver mini round robin just for like a consolation round, just to keep them out sailing if they want to, I believe. That's how I understand it. So MIT still very much in control of this race at the Leeward Mark. MIT in red, Tufts in yellow. A big race here. Both of these teams right now are on the inside of that top 8 group, but a win here for either team would certainly help their cause.
So what race are we watching now there, Brooke?
This is MIT Tufts at the Leeward Mark. MIT in red, Tufts in yellow. Both teams sitting inside right now that gold round with 4 losses, but a loss for either team would put them in a little more precarious situation.
Are you as impressed with MIT as I am?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Zach was saying when he was just up in the booth here a minute ago, MIT's been sailing very well. They sailed very strongly at their qualifier, and he's not too surprised to see them up here mixing it up with the top teams.
Yeah, they all look so young on that team. It looks like they're sailing a bunch of high schoolers almost. And again, we're going to call them the helmet team. They're all wearing helmets, and it's unusual to see that in the sport of sailing. despite the fact that the boom is probably the most dangerous thing on a sailboat.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me earlier. It might have been too breezy out there for you, but we were talking about why they all wear helmets. Actually, every sailor on MIT does wear a helmet, even during their practices, and they take their head safety and all the, with the NFL, the CTE, the concussions, and all the research that's been going on with that. They have developed a new FJ up there in MIT. It's called a Turbo FJ, where the mast, the gooseneck is about 4 or 6 inches higher than it is on a stock FJ. So there's really no reasonably possible way for a sailor to get hit in the head just by crossing the boat with the boom, which I have done way too many times.
Yeah, I'm in trouble, man. I've taken so many booms on the head. And
Yes.
I hope it doesn't have an impact later, but
Yeah, say what that
after a
says.
while, you just kind of get used to it,
Yeah. After a while, the pain just all goes away. But enough depressing talk about concussions. So Tufts is still kind of very much in this race, as we're seeing right now on our screen. Boat number 12 being a thorn in the side. If they can get a pin on boat number 3, which I think they do, that might be enough to get their teammate in boat 18 farther forward here and back in this race as we get close to the finish line.
So what we just had, we had a 2-3-4 for MIT there, and now it's changed to where Tufts has got at least back a chance here.
Yeah. I mean, I think in my experience, when you're in a 2-3-4, you have. I mean, this is going to sound a little obvious and redundant, but the team that isn't as winning in the 2-3-4 either has to have done a very big mistake, and then the other team must have just capitalized on it, because a very, very strong play 2 is very hard to break up. It's turning into a bit of a slog luff party up there. As every boat seems to be kind of luffing each other just to go slow to try to get a little bit of lateral distance. We're seeing those all boats have tacked out now. MIT boats coming across, look like they cross all those boats. So boat 3 might be in the 1 at the moment.
Well, there you go.
Another big luff
145 right there. in our face.
145 for Tufts. Wow. Able to pull it off, claw back in that one. Very impressive job for the Jumbos, getting that big win.
We wrap up today, we want to thank our sponsors, especially Leslie and this live stream. They really want to encourage you where you are. We've got like a race start before the race reports.
Before the last start. Okay, the race is not over, Brooks.
Looks like there are still some boats.
But it does look like Tufts is going to go ahead and cross the line and finish this off.
And not quite sure what happened there. That was interesting.
It looked like MAT dropped down on a starboard tacker to leeward, and then that boat did attack, and they were still trying to slow them down so that their last guy could get back in, but did not happen.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Wow. Well, MIT gave them fits, but pretty amazing. Tufts had some really good races where they've been losing and they've come back to win, and they've had a couple they were winning and they went back to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally what my surprise team out here so far today has been Tufts. I didn't think going into the broadcast, I was kind of had the mindset that Tufts may have gotten a little bit of help. The NISA qualifier was in their home venue at their own lake, sailing in their unique Lark boats. Didn't think they quite had the team racing chops, but clearly they're proving a lot of people wrong right now.
Yeah, if I'm thinking about last year compared to this year, I don't know why I'm so more fired up this year. It seems like the races are almost all of them, all but about 5, have had lead changes and have had really close racing.
No, the level certainly seems to be elevated this year at the Laser Performance Team Race National Championship in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, we want to make another spiel for the U.S. Sailing College, U.S. Sailing Membership Program. If you can get 100% of your team to join U.S. Sailing, you guys will receive the new red and blue Starboard and Port socks for every member of the team. Yes, and if you're an individual, you can join as a college-age person, and you can get a 65% savings over the regular pricing. So make sure you check into U.S. Sailing. They support so many things in the sport. The judging, the instructor training, major championship regattas. They help fund all kinds of youth activities. The Olympic Development Program, which has really been an amazing improvement in the youth development in this country in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. So Leandro Spina with the Olympic Development Program, Charlie McKee, these guys, they've done a great job. All of that is related to the U.S. Sailing Association. And the U.S. Sailing Association just has their hand in so many things, including live stream footage by Deegan Media and Granite River Studios. What do we have coming up next?
Coming up next in the docket as we get into this final flight, we're already underway with it, excuse me. Up next we have the A&M Galveston Aggies versus the Midshipmen trying to come back from that tough race where they lost to Hobart. But then after that, a race we want to highlight, a couple more, is going to be Hobart William Smith Statesmen and the Charleston Cougars. And Herons.
What is that? 3 minutes for Navy against who again?
No, that's going to be Georgetown Eckerd. That we're just in the
Georgetown
starting
Eckerd
lines for.
just heard a 3-minute gun. Georgetown's had a really strong day.
Oh, absolutely.
They were second last year, and you know, they just went through their motions this year. They just kept doing the same things they did last year, and maybe with the varying conditions, they can switch that around this year.
Potentially could be tied for first. We did receive word that there was a protest in the race between Georgetown and Yale that Yale won. So I don't know anything about the situation, and it sounds like we might have broken that news to Zach. It sounds like there might be some judge interference. That was the case. So that might be a resale. Don't know if they would do that today or first thing tomorrow morning or just at the end of the round tomorrow.
Wow, look at those results. College of Charleston leading. You know, they got 5th last year, and there was not a lot of smiles on that team last year. They had 3 seniors skippering, and they thought they would be able to go in there, and it just turned out to be not quite their event. But look at them now.
Yeah, new team, new blood, all fresh new skippers here starting for the Cougars, and I'm not too surprised to see them up there at the top here in their home waters. You know, it got really tricky out there today. I was talking to Zach was saying earlier, you know, it wasn't really the current adverse effect, but just knowing, you know, you're still doing the same thing. The current doesn't change anything other than obviously the racing, but you still have the same job to do no matter what position you're in. And I think Charleston might just be a little more accustomed to that, make the fewer mistakes, and that's why we're seeing them at the top of the leaderboard right now.
Yes. Well, we have 2 teams from Texas here, right? The Texas A&M Aggies, and then the Texas A&M Galveston what?
No, there's just only one team from
just
Texas.
one. I'm sorry.
At co-eds, we have both of the couple Texas squads.
Have got your act together, man. You should be sailing this week. You would be winning.
No, I would not. I promise you these kids would kick my butt.
So I'm going to... Oh, that's the Hawaii race out there, right, that just finished?
Yeah, in blue and orange, it looks like blue, Old Dominion, or Northwest. Wait, where are we on this old rotation? Yeah, Old Dominion, Hawaii. It looks like ODU and Orange did indeed get the win over the Bows. Coming up, also upwind, we got Navy and Galveston. Navy in pink, Galveston in green. It looks like Navy's in charge of that race. But glancing in over to the finish start line right now, one of the races we wanted to highlight today, Eckerd and Georgetown. Eckerd in red, Georgetown in the blue. And we're going to stick with this race for a while, but we're going to want to get most or all of Hobart and Charleston to wrap up our broadcast for today, because that's going to be one of the more exciting races. Hobart still fighting to stay in, currently sitting in 5th right now at 8-4, and to win, see if they can knock off the Cougars.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with Campbell Delescu on the dock with Georgetown, and man, he was just beaming. You know, he's felt like he and his team just sailed really well today. They feel like they're kind of clicking with the conditions, actually, other than a couple of rough starts where early when they got over. Other than that, they're really feeling good about themselves.
You know, I'm not surprised. Earlier we were talking about the Delsu family and Campbell himself, and this kid's always just smiling. He's got something to smile about, which is a great attitude to have. Always keeps his head clear and upbeat attitude. But certainly the Hoyas are looking to wrap up their day right here with a solid win over the Eckerd Tritons, who, in my opinion, they're sitting at 7-5 right now. 7-6, excuse me. I was expecting them to knock off some of the teams, and they really had. Looking at their scores, they beat Old Dominion, they beat Navy, they beat Tufts, all very talented, strong teams, and it's good to see a younger team from a district that doesn't get too much. SASA district doesn't get too much invites other than the Charleston Cougars to the big events, just based off of how the picks work in the rotation.
The funny thing is I don't think they really knew. I walked by them on the dock. I said, "Did you guys have some good upsets today?" And they all kind of looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" So I felt, maybe I have this wrong, but
maybe that's
just confirmed they had some good upsets today.
Or maybe that to them it was just like, what are you talking about? We're supposed to beat those guys. So just a big confidence swagger there for the Eckerd Tritons. That's a well-coached team by Kevin Reale and Zach Marks, two awesome dudes from down there in Florida. Zach is one of the best foil kiteboarders in the country, no doubt.
So what is that, Navy walking away with that race out there?
Yeah, Navy in pink way up there.
And what do we have right in front of us here again?
This is Georgetown Eckerd. Georgetown in in blue, Eckerd in red. And Georgetown certainly seems to be in control of this one early on.
Yeah, there were some glum faces on that Navy docked in there. I saw, again, it's a year's worth of energy that you're putting into this, and no matter what happens, when you start to realize that top eight's out of whack or maybe not going to happen, it's going to be an emotional letdown in most cases. And they were looking a little glum. I don't know if they're eliminated yet, but
they're not
they
quite.
Sure
but that
it.
Race against Hobart where they were winning, and then right there towards the end, just the wheels fell off. It's certainly looking at it right now. It's all close. MIT and Navy are both sitting in 8th and 9th with 5 losses. Good news for Navy, they do own the tiebreaker. They did beat MIT head-to-head. But going into, let's see, Navy still has to race Tufts, Yale, and Galveston. So I think they need to try to scrap off some of the older racing Galveston right now. So tomorrow they just have Tufts and Yale. Those are going to be 2 hard wins, and I don't think Navy can afford to lose any more races. Georgetown is kind of cruising away here from the Eckerd Tritons as they approach Mark 1. Shipping it over down to the starting line right now is this race we wanted to highlight. College of Charleston versus the Hobart William Smith College's Statesmen/Herons. Cougars are going to be in the black boats. Statesmen in the yellow. We'll be over on that one shortly.
Yeah, and we're going to have the opportunity the next 2 days to watch the live stream, folks. So please spread the word on Facebook, spread the word to your friends. Get on the live stream at the 2017 nationals.collegesailing.org and follow along. And we've got 2 days more of this team racing.
Yeah, if you're hosting a Memorial Day barbecue on Monday and this broadcast isn't being displayed somewhere at the function, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna find out. Don't think I won't find out. So again, Charleston in the black boats, Hobart in the yellow. As we start to wind down here in this round robin, you can kind of start to say who's in, who's out. Looking at the scores, I think it's safe to say that the Cougars are safely in the top group. Yale, Georgetown, Hobart right there. Hobart needs a win here. Absolutely. No doubt needs a win here against the Cougars. Because if they lose, they'll drop down to 8-5, which would put them in that tie with MIT and Massachusetts. MIT.
Yeah, you don't want to race MIT.
No. Cougars looking very strong off the line.
it's really great if you're a kid out there or a parent who wants their kid to learn about this. Great to watch this stuff because the decisions these kids are making over and over again every second is really fun to watch, and it's really a good opportunity to learn. And you know, if you want to sail in college, I'd be out there watching this.
Yeah, absolutely. You hear about kids who get better at whatever other sport, basketball, football, by watching footage of their favorite players. And I think if you're a young buck out there trying to get in the team racing game, certainly watching these races here is a great way to start. But Charleston is certainly handing it to the Statesmen right now. Fond memories racing against Hobart from back in my day. They had some real fun characters. Austin Anderson, Johnny Norfleet, back when I was a junior. They were junior and senior year. Definitely had some great battles with them on the water. And the year we won the Nationals, we were in the Final Four with us. And certainly no shortage of talent up there, up in the great white north of New York, upstate New York.
The first hole on the course kind of rolling through on those boats on the left side of your screen. That's the first light spot where the crews have had to sit in and not hike in a while, and then it's gonna puff back up here just in a second.
I don't think the breeze will die over the course of the next couple hours, but I think we're going to be long gone by that time, John.
Yes, it has been absolutely perfect Charleston conditions. This is what we were hoping for all week, but as a crew who really enjoys working the boat, you know, I really think the sailors really enjoyed yesterday, and I think they really enjoyed today because there's no race that's ever over. It's just such a, I don't know what the word is, it's a spicy place, you know. It's got a lot going on, and I think the sailors love that, you know, and it's not just a parade around the course once somebody gets in the lead.
Yeah, so hold on. It does look like one of the Statesman boats did poke through and cross all the Charleston boats. Boat number 6, it looks like, or 5 right there on your screen on starboard tack. See how they look as they get back into the weather mark. We do have one Charleston boat farther to windward that might be a threat, but Hobart might actually be rounding this mark in first. However, it does appear that a 5-6 might be the case for the rest of their team. We were talking earlier about the play 2 being the bread and butter for so many teams, and Charleston certainly likes to stick with that play 2.
So now when you're in the 2-3-4, what is your game plan now?
So essentially, once you're in the 2-3-4, the thought is to never, ever, ever get out of the 2-3-4. So you spread it out. You'll see, you're gonna see this first boat around the weather mark probably, excuse me, you see the first boat kind of keep it a little bit high right now. You're gonna see the second boat in third place gonna go very low. Probably see them go down to a wing soon. And they do, and the fourth boat is going to keep it high to defend that inside lane from the 5 and the 6 snipping up behind them on their heels.
Oh, so now I'm starting to figure out why a lot of these teams were reaching so much early in the day is because that's
it's all about
standard move.
It's all about protecting your lane, and so boat 4 is going high to not give the other opponents an opportunity to cover their breeze or roll them and just defend the inside lane. And we're going to see a good job of the Cougars here just keeping it super balanced right now. Good thing that the 5 and the 6 are pretty far back, so it's not too much dancing that they have to do. But again, it's all about protecting your lane. The thought is boat 4 will go very high, and if the 6th place boat right now, on the farthest left boat on our screens, were a little bit closer, I think they might be more of a threat. The boat currently on the wing closest to us, John, it's their job to balance that guy back, to not let him get too far ahead of the pair on the outside that's going high.
Yeah, like I said, if you're watching this and you're a kid, you just replay this over and over, and you can start to all these little decisions you have to make in a matter of seconds. And over time, you learn the standard moves, and then you also learn when not to do the standard moves.
This is just textbook. This is textbook play 2 right here. Again, it's unfortunate that Hobart's 5 and 6 boats aren't close enough to really start mixing it up with the Cougars, but as far as their coverage right now, I think the Cougars are doing a great job defending. I did kind of think, I'm surprised that the boat 1 for Hobart didn't really throw the brakes on there at the leeward mark to try to just consolidate everything and mix it up, but he seems content with rounding.
Some people, I think, feel a lot more comfortable with the the pass backs on the offset leg than at the leeward mark. Sometimes.
But I don't disagree with you on that, John, but I'm saying if he had just thrown the brake on, right, the handbrake on at Mark 3, it would have given his teammates in 5 and 6 a chance to
Yeah, I get it.
chance
So
to
he
catch
shouldn't have
back
done a
up.
pass back. He should have just slowed it down.
He should have just, a good mantra I was saying earlier, John, is if you're losing, you want the race to take as long as possible. If you're winning, you want the race to go as fast as possible. And to me right there, Hobart had zero interest in making this race last longer. I don't know if they're mentally checked out or what that was all about, but that was absolutely not the move to make if they want to have any shot at getting back into this race.
Yeah, the thing is even after this many months of training, maybe, a little mental breakdown here. Maybe they're just a little tired and,
at the end of the
you
day,
really
this
just
is
got to be able to rebound and
Yeah,
just go to your happy place and get that second
Their
win
last
done.
race of the day, you want to think that, but every race is so crucial, especially looking at these scores. Hobart sitting at 8-4, Navy nipping at their heels 8-5, MIT 8-5, Tufts 8-4, right above them. So a loss here is going to drop Hobart back down to 8-5, which now involves them in a tiebreaker with MIT and Navy. Of course, they beat Navy head-to-head in that disappointing race we saw for the midshipmen earlier. Navy beat MIT, but let's see, MIT and Hobart have yet to race. So we're going to see them in action tomorrow. So that's just tension, John. You're going to go into that race knowing this race is very important if we decide, if they just maybe put their heads down. It's funny when I love talking to some of the coaches after today. It's like, what are a couple things that we saw today, like, they can pinpoint the exact moments where they lost races. Like, oh, yeah, someone blew this coverage downwind, and that's when it went pear-shaped and we lost that race. That's when this happened, that's when that happened. So it's very easy for the best team racers to pinpoint exactly where races went awry.
Yeah, and I think some teams just get through today and they're very comfortable, but other teams are saying to themselves right now, gosh, I wish we could just start the regatta now because we learned so much from today. You don't get this chance to have this tight of racing. I can't believe how tight this is. I mean, it's 3-4-way tie there right in the middle.
I mean, and earlier I was counting out ODU, but looking at they're sitting at 6-6 right now, but they got some races tomorrow that I think they could get a win over, especially they got a big one against Boston College, so 3 more races for ODU to try to have a shot to qualify. And frankly, looking at the scores right now, they're only 1 loss out. They have 6 losses, and everybody above them in that 3-way tie we were just talking about is 5.
Gosh, that is so incredible. This is going to be great.
Team racing.
Show back up tomorrow morning. I think we start at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Show back up and watch those last 3 races. And obviously, we're super happy to be here at the Laser Performance Team Racing National Championship. And yep, and U.S. Sailing has provided this opportunity for this live stream, so we're really appreciative to them. And I'm John Rogers here. I'm having a great time here with Brooks Clark.
It's been fantastic with you guys today. And as the Cougars make their way up that final beat, I think they put the Statesmen pretty much nail in the coffin. I think we're going to go ahead and call it and wrap up the racing for today. So it's been a fantastic day. Like John just said, we'll be right back here with you guys at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We're going to wrap it up now. So for John Rogers, I'm Brooks Clark coming to you live from the USS Yorktown in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. It's been an awesome day. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow, expect to see you right back here, same time, same place. So see you then. Have a good night. Bye.